So, as expected, they're helping me out here. And it looks like a little black box that I've seen once before. And inside, World Series of Poker 2020 Online. So, just thought y'all may want to see that, because I got another one. Let's go!
Capturing the moments from the summer surf from Nathan Gamble, now a two-time bracelet winner, unboxing the spoils with his dogs Chip and Slinky, and of course Ethan Yao, winner of event 26. Let's go. There'll be plenty of those war cries shouted throughout living rooms as we near the close of the American portion of the World Series. 3 events remaining. Ali Najad alongside Maria Ho, and as is customary at the top of the show, we like to check in on the Hobucks situation and find out just how many soldiers were lost on the battlefield this past week.
At this point, it's like, why are we even doing this? I'm like, I wish I could just get a little taste of that elation that I see everybody else feeling when they win, but I'm running out of chances, maybe running out of money even. Gosh.
Uh-oh. That's a bad situation. Guys, can we get an expedite? Is there a payday advance near City
Venmo,
Center?
guys.
Somewhere walking
Venmo
distance?
All
right, speaking of a lot of people and elation, plenty to unpack here as we had a schedule chock full of winners. Event 20, Kevin Gearhart, hats off. Second bracelet for that young man, formidable in the mixed game streets, played with him a bit. And then you got Tony Dunst, another commentator doing what Maria, you have not yet done.
I know, and it's like they're just putting me to shame over and over again, but definitely the most notable name among the winners this past week. But Nick Binger, brother of Michael Binger, showing up in the champions.
What about JUHA HELPPI? Guess what, Finland? It's not just a Patrick Antonius kind of country. JUHA taking down the GGPoker Bracelet, event number 35. And other than him, I don't recognize any of those names. Lots of internationals. Do you?
Yeah, I recognize Roberto Romanello, but obviously considering that this is for the rest of the world players, we will probably start seeing a few names that we don't recognize.
Yeah, no doubt about it, but of course plenty that we do recognize who don't quite make it to the hilltop, but are so close. One of them, Ryan Torgerson, already taking down a bracelet, deep run in event number 23, and just a star-studded list there.
Yeah, absolutely. So many big names making deep runs like Chris Moorman, Brian Altman, and Matt Berkey, finishing in back-to-back final tables in event number 24 and 25.
Well, if you think back-to-back by Berkey is impressive, how about our story of the week, which has to be Ryan LaPlante. The man has 9 straight cashes this summer. The kind of thing that you just don't see in live summers. Maria, your thoughts?
I mean, it's nearly impossible to do that live, but that doesn't take away from what an impressive feat that is, even though it's online. I can't remember the last time I was even able to string together a few cashes in a row. And, you know, my best run in poker ever probably came when I made a WPT final table, a WSOP final table, and had a top 15 finish in the span of a couple months. But, I mean, this is incredible what Ryan was able to do. And Ryan's always been known as a very consistent and great poker player.
I'm going to need you to stop looking in the rear view and start looking out the windshield, okay? There's still some summer left. We need some back-to-back Hobucks coming back to roost, okay? Some of us are counting on you. All right, the best-dressed man in poker perhaps right now, Tony Dunst, the World Poker Tour commentator, doing right by the Booth brethren, a $1.68 in his back pocket as he took down event 21.
Yeah, and Tony started off this online series with a really great run with a 3rd place finish in event number 1, so I'm sure he was really happy to improve on that here. And this is also Tony's 2nd bracelet as he won one in 2016.
You are correct, and there is a look at the people that joined him, 6th and 7th standing out.
Yeah, John Turner, well-known poker pro, and Randy O'Heal, somebody who also from time to time frequents the commentary booth, so just another person that I can't, you know.
Also frequents the mixed game streets, and here was a key hand you wanted to talk about, Maria.
Yeah, so this was a hand heads up in the one that Tony Dunst won, as he is panoramic on the button. You see 10-9 versus 10-8. Now, 10-9 flops middle pair. It's kind of a non-standard lead, by Pay My College. And Panoramic, of course, with the backdoor flush draw, open-ended straight draw, tons of outs, lots of equity is going to continue. The turn is a 6 of hearts, and now Pay My College decides to check it over to Tony. And of course, Tony, again, still having that open-ended straight draw, has to try to take this opportunity to semi-bluff, try to take down the hand right here on the turn, but Pay My College is not going to go anywhere. And the river is the ace of hearts, and Pay My College has a bluff catcher in this spot. Obviously, this board on the river favors Tony's range. Tony's going to go for about a third pot size bet here as the bluff. And I think this is a great call by Pay My College. I think that Tony has a ton of bluffs in this spot. You know, Queen 10, 10-7, King 10, all of those things.
Now, while he may have got his hand caught in the cookie jar in our breakdown hand, eventually he ended up with all the cookies, and he joins us now from right here in Las Vegas, none other than the newly 2-time minted World Series of Poker Bracelet winner, Tony Dunst. Tony, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, I know that you and I have put in a lot of time as announcers in the booth, and I've got my thoughts on it, but I want to know what you think about how much of a help it is to bear witness to people at final tables throughout all these years when you yourself are out there on the felt looking to close something out.
Oh, it's a massive help. Not only are you getting insight into how people play and adjust when the most money is on the line, but you know, I say this to poker players a lot. Like, yeah, we all set aside time to study, but have you ever set aside 8 hours to study next to another poker player, watching every single hand and discussing it? Like, no, of course not. That would be crazy. But that's what we do at work, and we do it, you know, a few times a month, and so that really accumulates as a great form of practice.
And also, Tony, because you are doing a lot in broadcasting these days, do you find that you actually enjoy playing more now because you kind of have that work balance, I guess?
Mm-hmm. No, there's totally some grass is always greener going on. When I'm on the table and I like lose a hand, I'm like, this game is so stupid. I never have losing days at work. Just like, I'm gonna go back in the booth with Vince. And then I'll have, you know, like 8-9 hour filming sessions at work, and I'll be like, this is terrible. I just want to use the bathroom when I get to say I use the bathroom. Just put me back at the poker table, you know?
How do you feel about the advent of Twitch and the fact that so many people now are streaming themselves while they're playing? Are they letting too much of the cat out the bag and now the level of competition is rising? Or is it just good for the gander?
I think it's good for the gander. I think the more eyes on the game we get, the better it's going to be. The fact that people can build a brand and maintain some exposure in the industry now at home. And it's Twitch strikes me as more of a meritocracy than just trying to like climb the ladder in corporate sponsorship where there's this kind of, you know, branding, networking element. Twitch is just like, if you're good at streaming and you put in the hours and you're good at poker and your viewers gain something from watching you, then you perform well and you accumulate viewership on Twitch, and it's good for poker. And I think that poker has always been getting harder and evolving over the years. So, you know, there's just a lot of things that contribute to poker becoming more difficult.
Tony, you actually got third, I believe, in the first event of this online series, and now you're closing out very strong, of course. So what are your upcoming plans in terms of playing online?
Well, we have the $400 freeze out today. There is an Omaha event tomorrow, which I don't really know anything about Omaha, so I'm going to sit that one out. Wednesday is the last higher buy-in event, 2K, I believe. Thursday is seniors, so I am not quite eligible, and Friday is the last one. So that, you know, that's pretty much the schedule. After that, I was actually going to go visit my family. It's been a very heavy stretch of poker for the last few months, and I wanted some time off. So yeah, go back to Wisconsin, see them, and then maybe play more tennis instead of poker.
All right, on the topic of family, Tony, we, all of us as members of the Booth Brethren, consider ourselves family. If you had to put together your family favorite dream table of commentators, who would be in there? And bear in mind, Maria and I better have seats.
Present company included, of course. I'm gonna take Vince. Gotta have Vince. I would take Lynn. Lynn is a hostess. I don't know if you'd say she does poker commentary, but you know, as part of the WPT family, she would definitely be amongst my first round draft picks. If we want to strictly make it about commentators, then I'm taking Vince and his money. And I'll take Nick Schulman. Take Nick Schulman. And then I'll take Norman Shad, and that is 6 of us, right? at 6.
I'm not keeping count. If you wanted to extend beyond 6, I wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, that works for me. Sign me up, make it happen, and good luck the rest of the summer, Tony. Thanks so much. The upcoming schedule. Let's look at 3 of them, shall we? 500. So it looks like, Maria, you need a check for 1,400.
Yeah, I got
Made
that.
out to World Series.
I mean, I'm barely gonna make 1,400, but I think I got it.
Well, not sure that there are any announcers on that list there, but certainly some decorated payouts as we get a look at 6 winners from this week's GGPoker action. JUHA HELPPI, the first of those winners, Maria, from Finland. The Euros are probably going to make their mark.
Yeah, I mean, JUHA has had an incredible run at several World Series leading up to this, finally winning a bracelet last year. So this will be his 2nd bracelet. I'm sure he's really excited about that.
$290,000 richer, and here was the moment. A couple of 10s in this 5K PLO, up against 9s and 5s. Top set always has bottom 2 in bad shape, and turn in the river just a formality there as JUHA took it down. And look at 6th place, the Brazilian standing up.
Yeah, and I didn't actually know that he was a PLO player. I kind of knew him as more a high-stakes, no-limit hold'em player, but of course, a great finish for him. And Mike Watson in 4th.
He didn't meet the minimum number of syllables, by the way, for that winner board there. Michael CLACHER, $297,000 richer in event 36, a 1,500 no limit.
CLACHER from South Africa, making this the 3rd bracelet won by a South African.
There he is with 45 million in chips, sitting on queens and 4s, courtesy of that queen of clubs on the river. Busted straight for Rodrigo. I wonder if he got heroic there on the end and dusted it off. I'm not quite sure. And here's a look at the rest of that leaderboard.
Martin Zamani, João Vieira, both of those players have had really good live results before.
I like how you didn't say Yuri Zivalevsky's name in the last lane. I can tell you're just avoiding the landmines. Hunwei Lee playing under the Australian flag, $161,000 richer, courtesy of event 37, a 1050 PLO.
Now Lee has had more than 1.7 million in live cashes, actually, but I'm sure that nothing compares to the gold bracelet.
Ace-9 Trey providing top pair. Deuce on the turn, not changing anything, and 7-8-8 King really didn't have any sort of sweat, but we squeezed anyway, didn't we? Just for effect. That's one of the features of the GGPoker software. And Hunwei taking it down. There were some of the other participants at the final table. Alex Di Felice etching his name again.
Yeah, and Alex has had a really good run online leading up to the series. I'm sure we will see more of him. He's a great PLO player as well as a no-limit hold'em player.
I'm going to test your country geography here, Maria. You know what that flag is in the middle there? You're not allowed to say Game of Thrones.
I definitely was going to say Game of Thrones, but I'm going to go with Wales.
Okay. All right, great. You know your stuff. I get it. Featured China and Sweden as well as Wijaya Romanello and Lofberg etching nice 6-figure scores there. And here's a quick review of the GGPoker series.
Yeah, Alex Di Felice, as we had just mentioned, he is the first player to reach 2 GGPoker final tables and event number 35. It's the largest PLO prize pool in WSOP history. That one was a 5K buy-in.
So GG obviously in full swing right now, but perhaps the fullest of swings that have been on display this summer belongs to Ryan LaPlante. And Ryan joins us now from right here in Las Vegas. Ryan, how are you, bud?
Hey, I'm doing absolutely fabulously. Thank you very much for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Listen, 9 cashes in a row, simply staggering, but I think you've got, what, just about enough in wins for like a buffet at Caesars? Or, I mean, it's not really a lot, is it?
Yeah, it's around $35,000, which obviously is a decent amount, but it's not that much more than my buy-ins, maybe a tiny bit more. So, you know, while it's been obviously a decent series, having 14 cashes and having that 9 straight, you know, it's not been the most profitable series as of yet.
Well, I knew you as an online poker player first. I know that you've lived in Mexico, in Canada. So do you feel like you're very comfortable in this online environment, and maybe that is why you've had such great results?
I mean, I have played about 45,000 tournaments lifetime, so for the longest time, that was my bread and butter. Over the last handful of years, I definitely feel as though I've turned more into a live grinder. Just, with living in Las Vegas, it's honestly what I'm more passionate about. And the thing with WSOP being online, it's kind of like a good mix of both worlds in that you get a lot of the same type of players that you would have gotten at the live World Series. So I get to see some of the same patterns and stuff, but instead of doing it in person, get to do it online, which, yes, I am very comfortable with, which obviously helps a lot.
Ryan, you have $2.5 million in career tournament earnings, and obviously that's fulfilling, but you also are a part of Learn Pro Poker, your coaching site. And talk to me about what is more fulfilling, because you've got a couple of guys already this summer who are students of yours who have taken down bracelets, in Matt Bode and Kevin Gerhardt.
Yeah, I mean, at least for me personally, the thing with playing poker is that it doesn't really add anything to the world in a true capacity. And while obviously I really enjoy it, I'm deeply passionate about it, absolutely love it, coaching others and helping them have the types of opportunities and success that I've personally had is a lot more fulfilling. And, really seeing people achieve their dreams is one of the best things that I could possibly do, especially when it's something that I'm personally passionate about as well. And that was kind of my goal with the site, is to give others that opportunity.
Well, would you say, Ryan, that something that you might coach some of the players that you talk to on a regular basis would be this idea of consistency being really important in poker? Because, of course, I think it's highly underrated, but it is what keeps tournament players afloat.
Definitely. I think consistency is one of the most important things. It's definitely as well as to why I really, really, really promote proper game selection, playing in games that you can afford, playing in smaller fields, and making sure that you can have these consistent results. Because, even with consistent results, you still have really brutal swings. And that's just like a huge aspect of the game. And if you can minimize that and to get on the board a lot more often, that'll just make the stress and the frustrations of grinding a lot more bearable, and also lead you to more success.
Obviously, you're an advocate of being authentic and being transparent, and you're a thoughtful player. And to that end, I kind of want to get your sense of what you feel like poker needs more than anything else right now. If you were to be able to wave your magic wand and bestow it something, what would that be?
It's a really difficult question, but I would honestly say that people being more transparent in terms of how they operate, people being transparent in terms of what's actually happening in the industry, the way that sites are ran, things like that, I think are really important. Also, I also think it's really important that players are more willing to work together, and that sites and operators are more willing to work with players, so we can have a healthier, better industry, not just for the short term, but 1, 3, and 5+ years from now. In fact, one of the players and people that I definitely look up to the most, that I feel as though really embodies this mindset and approach, is Phil Galfond. I think as a player and as an operator, that he is definitely one of the best in the industry in terms of doing what is best for the industry longer term, as well as providing positive experiences, through Run It Once and through Run It Once training and through the poker site.
All right, Ryan. Well, listen, if you take one down, then we'll take a trip to Paul Bunyan land back in Brainerd, right?
Definitely. I would love to go back there.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. 9 in a row and 16 total for Mr. LaPlante, top of the charts as we look upon the top 5 caches of 2020, which include Kit Poker, Ant Zeno, and Ben Yu. Well, there were plenty of opportunities to compile caches as the calendar was chock full this past week. We covered 3 results, and now for the next wave of 4. Event number 23, a guy who, for all we could tell, is a relative newbie, Raymond Avant, picking up $95K.
Yeah, according to our research, this is his first cache live or online. I wish my first cache ended in a WSOP bracelet.
Torgerson, third, already picked up a bracelet, and Dan Zach also at the final table. And this was a notable one when everybody was still at the final table.
Yeah, in the black opening up with queens here, third in chips. Getting a call from Pepper Prince, who was second in chips. I like this call with ace-8 suited. There's no reason to get involved in a huge pre-flop situation with the person that is third in chips. And Jack-5 deuce, couple of clubs there. So overpair for in the black, still happy to bet. A really big sizing, I might add, 915,000. Really big, but Pepper still feels pretty good about having that nut flush draw. Comes along, and on the turn, the King of Hearts, a bit of a scare card, of course, for the queens. In the black, decides to play it safe, checks it over to Pepper Prince. And now Pepper Prince has a bit of a decision. He could either semi-bluff and bet here, or he could check back, hoping to realize his equity with that nut flush draw. He does decide to bet 1.3 million, which gets a call from in the black with queens. And the river is the 4 of spades in the black. Checks it over again at this point. Queens is kind of a bluff catcher. You are a little bit afraid of that king that came on the turn. Pepper Prince does have a lot of king-jack suited that he would have peeled pre-flop. Pepper Prince, you got to give it to this player. He tried to get in the black off of the queens, but unfortunately, I think that there was just too many ace-x type of missed flush draws that I think in the black couldn't quite believe that.
ICM pressure, no doubt. And it runs in the family for the brothers Binger Nick, a longtime coach, whose brother Mike was third at the 06 main event. Actually has a chem major. And he fired up his Bunsen burner and picked up a cool W in event number 24. Here was the final moment where his King 8 was better than the 2 9s. And there was the rest of the field.
And as we had mentioned earlier, Matt Berkey having a pretty good week. He finished in 7th in this event.
Yeah, not a bad week for Berkey, and not a bad week for Nicholas KILEY. Mr. Finault, $149,000 richer. And of course, let's not forget the beautiful bracelet.
Yeah, with this win, KILEY actually made more than all of his live and online cashes combined to date. So he has to be pretty happy about that one.
And he's a member of that Run It Up Reno crew. A lot of fun had up there at the Pepper Mill every year by those participants, and I'm sure they'll be really excited for a member of their family having picked up some jewelry here this summer. There's a peek at the rest of the field. Again, we see Berkey.
Yeah, back-to-back final tables is tough to do. I'm sure Berkey would have liked to finish higher than 5th, but you know, he's still got a couple events left.
Ethan Yao, screen name Rampage P, $164,000 richer. You saw that video at the top of the show. Nothing but excitement. Here was his final moment.
Yeah, I think you saw him pause in that video a little bit because he was just making sure, wait, I have 7s full of 4s, right? The ace high didn't...
I didn't get counterfeited somehow.
Great, I want a bracelet, awesome.
I love the cyberbucks that they put out on the belt there. And who joined them at that final table?
Not a lot of familiar names here for me. I believe June Kim is a player that I do know. But yeah, a lot of new names kind of coming up at these final tables.
Well, if those names keep up performances like those, they will certainly be household and more familiar in due time. And speaking of a little bit more familiar and household, how about at the top of the board for the World Series of Poker Player of the Year race, Rob Kuhn, busting balls, trying to lay claim to the lion's share of that $100,000, which will be split up among the top 50.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, Ryan Torgerson really catching up and closing that gap. He had another final table finish, finishing 3rd in event number 23.
And from Player of the Year, we go to Player of the Week. I don't think anyone will argue with our pick. Ryan LaPlante, 16 cashes so far, 9 in a row at one point. All right, so social media ablaze each and every single summer. Maria calluses on her thumbs. She's out here in between takes in the Twitter sphere, getting back at all the trolls and posting stuff. Here's what she was managed to unearth during this past week. Sean Deeb, a smart guy with perhaps a not so smart question.
Yeah, I guess he was in a house that was way too hot. Clearly not a fan of punctuation, lots of typos. I don't know, I have problem with a lot of grammatical errors. But we get what your question is, and apparently when you ask dumb questions on Twitter, you find the perfect solutions.
What do we got? Broccoli, some dark leafies, and then cheese. Listen, if he keeps that there long enough, he's gonna have a wicked plate of Easy Mac to celebrate the end of this session with. All right, moving forward to EFRO, Magic the Gathering alum's been sweating Matt Berkey, but he's a little tilted because he's got to be up early in the morning, and Berkey hasn't shipped it and has kept him up late.
Yeah, I mean, Berkey, come on, stop with these 5th and 7th place finishes, toying around with your viewers. They need to see you win, or they need you to be the first one out.
All right, now, each and every week, we bring you an installment of Norman Chad's Finest, and this week, he is exploring poker tells.
Over the years, I have had great success online in poker, Twitter, shopping at Target, and Tinder. Heck, I proposed marriage to my second wife using Google Translate. Anyway, it's no accident that I am an online poker crusher. I was beating the game when we were still using the HAL 9000. What's my secret? Picking up online tells. Yes, online tells. Live tells are child's play. What, you don't think Richard Nixon had 1 million live tells? You don't think Lady Gaga has 1 million live tells? But online, that's a whole other ballgame. I pick up information just from their screen name. You think Dr. Skull, Megadoom, Crouching Sniper, Angel of Death 666 is a nit? I pick up information from timing tells. I even pick up information from how they put their chips in the pot. What, do you think it's all the same online? You're not looking hard enough, pal. I also have one big advantage that borders on, for lack of a better term, wrongdoing. Okay? I have a super user camera. No, not so I can see everybody else's hole cards. That would be cheating. No, I install a hidden camera in every opponent's home, or in the case of Orion DePaulo, in his car, so I can see exactly who I am playing against. Yes, it's rather expensive, but my friends, this is the World Series of Poker. And by the way, Ali, I've noticed that you have a very fine collection of Napa Valley cabs in your home.
All right, the joke's on you, Sliver, because if you would have sprung for a higher resolution camera, you would have realized that that's Welch's. All right, everybody knows I don't drink cab. What? Well, my girlfriend, maybe she's doing a little corn.
Yeah, I think Mindy's getting in there.
Definitely. All right, speaking of getting in there, plenty more opportunities to get in there. Just 3 on the World Series side of the schedule before it's time to book your plane tickets if you want to be in on the GG action. $1,400 in buy-ins left. And then, Maria, you're going to swap those dollars for pesos?
I am. I feel like what I need is a change of scenery, a different IP address. I'm staying optimistic. I think I'm going to get some of those pesos back.
All right, GG Poker schedule. 6 events, and you notice a triple header on the second. Maria, you're going to want to lay off those poolside Mai Tais and pinas.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a grind now that we are coming into the GG portion where there are multiple events a day.
Nothing grind about having you join us each and every week for this show. We certainly thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. On behalf of Maria, I'm Ali saying good luck the rest of the way, and we'll see you next week.
World Series of Poker, it is final table coverage of the Colossus. More than 12,000 entries, and we are down to 9 players with almost $600,000 up top. The biggest first place prize for an online bracelet event. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Welcome inside the PokerGO studio. My name is Jeff Platt. Lucky enough to be joined by not only the 2004 WSOP main event runner-up, not only the winner of the 2010 WPT Championship, not only a Master Chef star, but a WSOP bracelet winner himself in David Williams. David, A, how's that for an intro? B, how's that for a turnout for the Colossus?
I mean, I'm going to have you follow me everywhere, me and my hype
Perfect,
man. I like it. I like it. I won't have any trouble with the ladies. And then the turnout, I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 12,000 players in one online bracelet event. It's time to move.
The turnouts have been impressive for the 2020 World Series of Poker overall. 85 bracelet events this summer, 31 on WSOP.com for the Americans located in Nevada and New Jersey. You fire any of those? You get in the mix?
Played a little bit. I mean, it's tough to focus when you're at home, when I have my daughter around
Sure.
and we're doing other stuff. I want to give her the attention. So, you know, I've kind of fired a few bullets in there, but I wasn't feeling it too much, especially seeing these GG prize pools and tournaments. I just was like, man, that's where I should be and what I should be playing.
And we do entirely shift our focus now to GGPoker and the WSOP international events on that platform. Still some staples to come. We have the Millionaire Maker, we have the 10K Heads Up, and we have the main event. And David, this year, it is a $5,000 buy-in, a $25 million guarantee. How's that sound?
Sounds good enough to where I might be booking a flight to Mexico.
That's what I'm talking
I got
about.
some time to figure out the plan, but I think, you know, I missed the main event 1 year since I started planning to go on vacation. I said I'm never going to miss it again. It's not quite the same as the 10K main in Vegas, but it's close. So I think I'm going to find a way to get down to Mexico in time to get set up and play that event.
We also need to erase the latest WSOP main event memory that's probably still running through your mind, flopping the nuts and all of a sudden drawing dead on the turf.
Yeah, I mean, I could say the beat itself wasn't that horrific,
Sure,
right?
sure,
We've
sure.
all flopped a straight in the board pairs. You're up against a set. I think the funny part is just I had told friends on break, like, I have so many chips. I was like, I'm like, you have to pry those chips from my hands. How could I go broke on level 2? I'm like,
Right.
I'm not going to splash around. And they found a way.
They did find a way, indeed, to turn the man dead. All right, more than 12,000 entries in the Colossus. Let us break down the numbers for a premier event in the 2020 WSOP online schedule for GGPoker. How about this? The largest ever prize pool for an online bracelet event. Almost $4.8 million in that prize pool. The largest ever first prize payout for an online WSOP bracelet event. Almost $600K up top. 1,575 people made the money. Almost 13,000 entries in this one. And David, if the 600K wasn't enough, if the WSOP bracelet wasn't enough, you also have a WSOP Europe package. So you get a flight, you get a hotel, you get an entry to the WSOP Europe main event. That
Yeah,
works.
I mean, this is an impressive series. What a turnout. I think the success of this is going to be a mainstay, I think, every summer.
Yeah.
I mean, once live poker's back and we're still having our traditional World Series of Poker, in addition to the World Series of Poker Europe, I think we're going to have the World Series of Poker online. I mean, I don't have any inside information,
Sure.
but I don't see why they wouldn't with how big of a success this is.
And I think it's important to branch out internationally, right? Because over the last couple of years, sure, we've had events in Nevada and New Jersey, but to get the international online poker world really buzzing about the World Series, I think is something special.
Yeah, and maybe this will get the ball rolling for some sort of legislation to kind of get everybody together so it can be like it used to be. Can you imagine the size of these fields if the whole world could play right now?
That
Unbelievable.
is the absolute dream. Well, this field is down to 9 players. Let's take a look at our leaderboard. It is indeed pretty tight at the top for this one between Arunas Sapitavicius, Paraskevas Sokaritis, and Joni Jouhkimainen. And a little bit of a fall off before Reino Sutla out of Estonia. And then what I like to call our short stack zone. Our bottom 5, all with 12 big blinds or less. That's Tom DELAINE, that's Andre Figueiredo, that's Agate Ose, that's Lai Zisheng, and that's AJ Chabra. So David, it still kind of feels like it's anybody's ball game here.
Yeah, I mean, when the stacks are this shallow,
Yeah.
anything could happen. You could be at the bottom, you double up, heck, even maybe triple up, and all of a sudden you're the chip leader now. So it's anyone's game. It is nice to be at the top. You sort of have an extra life, an extra man. Things can go wrong. You can make a misstep, and you can lose that one pot, whereas the people at the bottom don't have that luxury.
Let's take a look at what they are playing for today. So we mentioned the first place payout, the biggest in WSOP Online history, $595,930. All 9 of our final tablists are guaranteed $40,529. About a 16K pay jump from 9th to 8th. So some major ICM implications with all of these short stacks lingering.
Yeah, being that short with these larger pay jumps, it's going to make it fairly awkward to make a move. You're not really going to want to do anything because you win money by folding, by other people busting. So I think you're going to see some fairly tight play, people waiting out the short stacks, and it's going to take coolers to really get the action moving in the beginning.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic for this final table. A final table that is led by Arunas Sapitavicius. So let's get to know the man that they call Arunas S. That's the direct quote from him. Quote, "There's no way anyone won't butcher my last name, so just call me Arunas S. That is just fine with us." He plays online as Angry Goose. This is his second cash of the Online World Series of Poker. In the 2015 main event, he finished 388, so perhaps he has some of this big game experience.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not easy to cash in the main event, even though there's a large field and a lot of people do. There's a lot of poker players, a lot of really good poker players that don't have a main event cash. I only have 2 in 15 years of playing it.
One of those caches was a decent one. It was okay.
Not bad.
It was okay, I would say. Let's get into one of the key hands that Arunas did play late in the tournament. It is Arunas on the button with the ace-7 off, and a pretty standard shove coming up from him considering the stack sizes in the blinds.
Yeah, these guys have, what, 6 and 12, 13 big blinds. You're on the button, big stack, ace. Put the pressure on him. Unfortunately for him, he runs into a buzzsaw, ace-jack, but that's why we put 5 cards out there.
that much is very true. That is Jouhkimainen looking down at a pretty ace-jack of clubs in that spot. H. Wilson 22, by the way, is Andre Figueiredo, one of our other final tablists. He is out of the way, and here we go. Ace-7 versus ace-jack. We all know what's coming, right? I mean, we know Arunas is the chip leader now. Yep, 7 ball on the flop. No jack on the turn. But here's what I love, David. We get to squeeze the river card. How beautiful is that on GG?
This software is amazing. I mean, notice how it showed 3 7s in a little chat bubble and then switches to the jacks. It shows the outs. It shows the percentages. You can squeeze the cards. It's such a cool, fun software.
Yeah, you get to squeeze your whole cards too. It is pretty entertaining to say the least. All right, that is Arunas S from Lithuania. He is our chip leader. Very close behind is Paraskevis Sokaritis. Out of Greece, he plays on GG as Cantaloupe 7, his first cash of the series. Career live tournament earnings of about $250,000. 28-year-old out of Greece, just living the dream.
He's got the poker injury. All the young 20, 30-year-olds have. I don't know what happened to his shoulder, but it seems to be a common thing in poker. I mean, it's putting all those chips in the pot. But.
At least 1 or 2 players per table nowadays, I feel like.
Yeah, it's hard out there on the poker streets.
Yeah, and they just stay right there for a good 30 seconds or so. Yeah, they got it done. They got it done. All right, let's get into one of Paraskevis's key hands. The action will start here with Fisherman, opening off about a 20 big blind stack with pocket kings in the cutoff, 4-handed. Gonna go a little bigger sizing here.
I'm gonna guess things don't go well for the pocket kings this hand, based on what we know. But I mean, if you got ace, queen of diamonds on the button, 4-handed, you're getting it in there. So, you know, again, run into the kings, but still got options.
Diamonds on the button, about 14 bigs. Goes for most of it there, effectively shoves. Fisherman thrilled about it.
And obviously fairly standard. You're going to put the other 4,000 in, 4 million in it.
Fisherman drops the ha-ha with D-negs. And don't laugh quite yet, as it comes ace, 6 ace.
And Angry Goose folded an ace, so it's a pretty rough beat here for the kings.
Kings take some major hits.
You know, they've got to change this deck. If you're going to squeeze that river, you got. I think there's a setup where I'm sure there's got to be, because whoever designed the option to squeeze knows that a true squeezing deck, you need to see the pips.
Right.
There's probably a deck in there where you can squeeze pips and actually get a
squeeze
sweat.
Pips or paint. I think there is. I think there is for sure. Of course there is. There are all the options
available. Listen, somebody gave them some input. we love to squeeze. They're going to say, wait, that's not how you squeeze. So I imagine you can turn that on.
Yeah, with Daniel Negreanu as their premier ambassador, I'm guessing they've learned how to apply the squeeze to the online ranks. All right, in third place going into this one, a recognizable name to us and probably a recognizable name to you, and that would be Joni Jouhkimainen out of Finland. In fact, number 3 on Finland's all-time money list. You probably run into him on the PLO streets, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was going to say he looked familiar, and being from Finland, you know, a lot of top PLO players reside there or are from there. And I play all the big PLO events every summer, so if he's had any success there, even played those tournaments, I'm sure we've ran across each other on the belt. And I think that's going to give him a lot of experience. You know, playing high-stakes PLO, you're not afraid to get it in. He's not going to be afraid here to make that move he needs to make, I think.
And we've seen Joni Jouhkimainen's name pop up really over these last 6 months, especially as we've seen more and more high-stakes online tournaments. So he's got to feel like he has at least a decent edge. It's hard for anybody to have a huge edge with these stack sizes, but he's got to feel pretty confident going in.
The biggest edge I think you can have now is just experience.
Yeah.
Knowing what to do with the short stack, knowing about laddering up, knowing that, you know, hey, I don't care about laddering up. I want to win the tournament. I mean, there's lots of different things that I think he could have an edge over his opponents that are more than just the chip stacks.
Maybe the drive for the win persuaded him here in this hand. This hand will start off with Agate Ose raising things up with the A7 off, and yes, that screen name is Boner Jams 69. Shout out to the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin if you're not familiar with that reference. So here's Joni with the 10s in the small blind, about 35 bigs or so.
Yeah, he's just going to call here, the conservative route. I like that at a full table.
Hello Pocket Kings for Mother Night. Decent spot to say the least.
Gotta love it. Big blind pocket kings. Unfortunately, you don't have too many big blinds, and you can't really force anyone out, but you don't want anyone out when you got kings. You want to get called.
Joni makes the call with 10s. Your thoughts on that?
You know, it was only 10 big blinds. There was quite a few in the pot already. You limped. I think at this point you have to call. You can't love it. You love that turn, but you got to think, you know, you can't love it. It's unlikely you're going to run into like a pair smaller than yours. So that's probably flipping, but I don't think you can fold with how much money was in the pot and how shallow he was with the kings.
So Joni Jouhkimainen picks up a pretty big pot there, much to the dismay of fellow players, I would say. There's certainly a stacked field in the Colossus. You have so many entries, but still all of the big names were firing. One of those big names is Matthias Eibinger, and Ranu Sutla from Estonia did the field a favor by eliminating Eibinger. More on that in just a little bit. But first, let's get to know Ranu Sutla out of Estonia. Plays online on GG as Ruku. Finished second in the 2018 World Series of Poker $1,500 bounty event. So again, we keep talking about this big game experience, but it's important.
Nothing wrong with that. I've got a few of those.
You're relatively familiar with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's tough to win the bracelet. Getting heads up, I've done it a few times, and when you do, you know, you really get a lot of experience. I think that's going to give him a bigger edge also in being fearless at this final table, which is something you have to do if you want to go for the win.
He had to be fearless when he was at the same table as Matthias Eibinger. Of course, it's a little bit easier when you pick up a hand like Pocket Queens, which Sutla did under the gun off about an 18 big blind stack. He opens up the action here. You see Matthias Eibinger, a super high roller, to say the least, is in the big blind there with a pretty short stack, pretty standard open from the queens.
Yeah, he's only got 12 big blinds total. I think this might be the first one that's not a bad beat, right? Every other hand we've seen so far. True. I mean, we know the queens are going to hold up here, so it's fairly standard, but...
You even had Ajay Rossgeller with the goodbye to Matthias before the hand even played out. Just to guess that ace is not coming, the Fury Sun monster guy. There's another goodbye. The chat features on GG, they keep things light. They keep
it's
things fun,
ruthless
like
out here in the GG street.
Yeah.
I kind of like though the WSOP got rid of chat, so now you get to imagine when ... pops up. Every time you see a bad beat, it's just a little chat box ... and you can think in your head, I wonder what they're saying.
Early on, when we saw Phil Hellmuth lose a massive pot, and he probably didn't know that the chat was disabled, and it was ... You could actually probably imagine what Phil Hellmuth was saying there. All right, so next on our list, as we enter this short stack zone out of France, that would be Tom DeLaine, plays by Picours on GG Poker. 4 cashes so far in the 2020 World Series. Got to be feeling a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it's only been, what, 41 events? So you played them all. That's a 10% cash rate. I doubt he played every one. So yeah, he's crushing out there in the GG streets.
More than $30,000 in career live tournament earnings. So this is certainly a big spot for him. Let's get to one of the key hands that he played. And we've seen some standard hands leading up to this. This is anything but standard. Let's take a look. So it starts with Tom DeLaine in the hijack with the Jack-8 of spades.
Yeah,
about 24 bigs.
A little early to be stepping out of line
Yeah.
with 24 bigs at a 7-handed table in Jack High. You know, maybe he's seen the table's been playing fairly weak and folding a lot, so you can take that liberty. I don't know. I want to let you know what I got here. He does get called by the big blind. He flops a gut shot, paired board, a lot of high cards. Not, you know, I think you follow up here, you're going to see bet almost every time, and your opponent in the big blinds is usually not going to connect with that and fold.
That is Ajay Chabra in the big blind, plays by Ross Geller. Has that king of clubs, which is a pretty valuable card here.
Yeah, and it looks like Ross isn't going to give it up. You know, he's going to represent. He's representing either a queen, a 10, maybe a big draw, but he's representing something, hoping his opponent's just firing an air ball, which he was. You know, normally this would work. Your opponent's going to, you know, if your opponent has the Jack 8, they probably fold here.
Not this opponent, though. As Tom DeLaine says, okay, let's take it to the streets.
He's going to peel one. He does have a 9 for a straight, and he also probably feels maybe some certain cards can come and he can blow his opponent off this hand. It's a little ambitious at this stage. I usually try to keep it mostly, you know, straightforward here. I don't try to get too crazy in these things this late when you're this shallow, but his opponent leads a third pot into him. Pretty tough spot for the Jack 8.
Now has that double gutter. Could hit a king.
Yeah, he has other plans. I think he's deciding, you know, I'm going to bluff this guy off this pot in addition to my double gutter.
So Jack on the river gives Ross Geller the straight.
Well, that's a card that, you know, your opponent checks here. You can represent a lot of things. You can represent the hand your opponent has. You can represent a king for a straight. Represent your ace if your opponent had a queen. And Ross folds the straight. The fact that he folded it so fast, I believe he misread his hand.
Oh, that he thought he just had king high.
Because I don't understand how you could just snap fold that straight there. Like, you don't even consider what are you beat by. Because if you think your opponent was that strong, unless you think they had a flush draw that was heart specifically, you were probably losing on the turn. So, I mean, why would you bluff into him? I mean, I don't know. It's just, all of it seems a little suspect to where I believe he had to have misread his hand. I wish we could contact him and ask him, but who knows? I mean, it's hard to admit that you misread your hand and folded it straight there, so you might not even tell us, but it seems like it's got to be a misread.
And he might be watching this back today and be like, oh no.
I think it's one of those hands where if it's live, we're all questioning the cameras. Like, did the graphics get that right? Did he have that hand? So, I don't know, man.
It was interesting, and that kind of speaks to Delaine's style of play too, does it not? Because you mentioned before, the play gets a little tighter off those stacks late in the tournament.
Delane was getting really ambitious there, and I think he got fairly lucky. His opponent pulled it straight. I think if he knew his opponent's hand was that strong, he's definitely not going to try to bluff him off of it. But you know, his opponent's hand wasn't that strong until the river, but he played it and represented it strong, took the initiative. So really strangely played hand, you know. Maybe poker's just passed me by because I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't understand a lot of things going on there.
So Delane may certainly be really going for the win. Might not care as much about these pay jumps. All right, next up on our list, how about Andre Figueiredo out of Brazil, a booming poker market to say the least. GGPoker ambassador Felipe Ramos would certainly have something to say about that. There he is, Andre Figueiredo, his second catch of the series, has career live tournament earnings of more than $60,000. I mean, Brazil, just an absolute hotspot for poker nowadays, it seems.
Yeah, it's been that way for a while. I remember when it was first kind of a budding market. Andre Akari was a big name with Team Poker Stars, and they were like, Brazil's the next spot, and it's still going strong. I mean, I've been there for vacation. It's a lovely place. Maybe I got to go back and check out some poker rooms because it's rocking.
You can have Felipe give you a tour. Shout out to GGPoker ambassador Felipe Ramos, one of the nicest guys in the business for sure. All right, let's check out this hand that Figueiredo played deep in the Colossus. He's also not afraid to mix it up. So it starts with Jouhkimainen with the pocket nines, under the gun, up a little bit more than 25 bigs. Raises it up here. The ace-3 of hearts in the hijack.
Yeah, usually you don't want to play that hand against an under-the-gun raise at mostly a full table. You're going to find yourself not in the best of spots, especially when the stacks aren't that deep. But it looks like Felipe has other plans. He's going to make a small raise, tiny raise here.
Small 3-bet here.
Yeah, you're
4.4 million.
It's unlikely your opponent's going to fold when you raise that small, giving them such a great price.
Yeah.
Unless they've got total napkins, which somebody raising under the gun is not likely to have. So I don't really understand the sizing of that raise. But, you know, with the stacks being that shallow, you can't do much more, which is why I'd lean toward a fold.
So it comes king 8-6 with one heart. Figueiredo does have the backdoor flush draw.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of checks the nines.
I think this is one of those situations where maybe they have some history, maybe they've been playing together all day, and he has a tight image, or he knows his opponent has been playing fairly weak and folding. I think he's capitalizing on that because everything here is a little non-standard, and I'm surprised to see it work. Usually, if I have two nines here, I'm going to peel one and check out a turn.
The down bet to 2.8 million. And that will get the 9s out of the way. So Figueiredo.
I mean, I think Jim Connor just said there was so much uncertainty, and it would prove, you know, if you're going to play there, you might have to play for your entire stack because you can't really call and then check fold the turn, and there's so much money in there. I think he just said, you know, there's a better spot somewhere else. I'm going to hold on and find a better spot.
There is the potential that that super small 3-bet meant that Figueiredo was super strong.
Yeah.
All right, next up on our list, how about Agate Ose out of Austria with a little bit more than 44 million in chips. Let's just jump right to a key hand for the Austrian here. It's Tom DeLaine opening things up. We've heard plenty from DeLaine already with the ace-8 of diamonds.
You know, he typed in 3, 4, 4, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. You have to type that in. You can't use a button, can't lose a slider. I like to type in bets because I think my opponents might be like, well, this guy's dedicated to the raise.
Yeah, he is locked into this one. Joni Jouhkimainen with the king-9 of diamonds going to try to apply some pressure here at the 3-bet.
Yeah, I like that 3-bet on the button with that hand. Unfortunately, Boner Jam 69.
Boner Jam 69,
has the goods. All in with 2 queens, and both these players know you can't call with either of their hands, and it's going to be just a scoop up. Free raise and 3-bet with queens in the big blinds. Don't even have to take any risk. Pick up all those
Joni
chips.
not thrilled after his 3-bet gets 4-bet shoved on, but there it is for Agate Ose entering this final table with a little bit more than 10 bigs. We move under the 10 big blinds mark for our next player in 8th place going into this one. That is Lai Sishang out of Singapore. Goes by Fisherman90 on GGPoker. And you know what? His friends say they call me James. So that's what we're going to do. How about that with the smooth transition in James Lai? That works for you?
How much time did you spend practicing all the rest of these names? That's what I commend you.
I came into the studio hours early and just went up and down the list and still am going to absolutely butcher them once we start play. So here it is for James Lai's second cash of the 2020 World Series of Poker representing Singapore. And let's go ahead and jump right to his key hand and a pretty standard hand at that. We've seen some craziness over the last couple hands. Not so much here.
Yeah, you've got, what, 10.5 bigs, ace-king, 4-handed, 1 move here, all in. Yeah. Same thing for Rooster Crazy. Even less, you got ace-queen, 4-handed, you're going all in. Unfortunately for him, he runs into ace-king. Ace-king holds up.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well, I think we know.
Yeah, I think we know. I think we know with James Lai at the final
close
table.
To He's going to need runners, and on that turn.
And there's the GG note.
It is a wrap.
Drawing dead. GG says you're drawing dead. You are indeed drawing dead. That does it for him as Sishang. But now we call him James Lai. Was able to pick up some chips. All right, last but certainly not least, we've seen a couple hands featuring Ross Skeller on GG, and that would be Ajay Chabra. Out of Canada enters this final table as our short stack with about 6 big blinds. Born in Long Island, New York. He's engaged. Going to be married next year. How's this for an engagement present to himself if he could ship a bracelet?
I think his fiance probably more happy with that $595,000, not some bracelet. But who knows? You know, maybe she doesn't care about those things.
Maybe honeymoon in Rosvedov for the World Series of Poker Europe?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, maybe. Where I want to go on my honeymoon, I want to go to play some poker, but.
All right, let's get to one of Ajay's key hands here. This is kind of an interesting hand just based off the way it starts out with Santi Chioa opening pretty big in the low jack here with the ace-9 off. Santi Chioa is going to make it about 5x or so. We might not have that hand, but I'll go ahead and describe it to you. Okay,
sure.
That's fine.
Oh,
there we go. There we go. We do have it. So there's Santi Chioa.
So it's when all these tables are 8-handed.
Yeah.
So like low jack, but it's also under the gun +1.
Right. The low jack
so
seems early position.
Yeah, it's kind of early position.
Just off the 15 big blind stack makes it 5x.
Yeah, that's, you know, this is a $400 buy-in tournament. So you have players of all different skill levels.
Sure.
You don't usually see a 5x raise in the higher level buy-in tournaments. But again, you have to remember, people can win through satellites. So who knows what they're thinking. Unfortunately for him, kings, you know. You
like the trap there, just flatting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. Your opponent opened pretty big. His stack's only, you know, got a little bit behind. You got 5 people to act behind you. I think he was more hoping someone behind wanted to pick up that dead money.
Just a guess. The ace does not spike on the river, but let's squeeze it anyways. No pips.
Yeah, you got to get that deck changed because that could have been any card.
Yeah, that's true. And it does end up being the Queen of Hearts. So that was a nice pickup for Ajay, who's lost some chips since that hand. And again, he enters the final table as the short stack. All right, just a couple minutes left to go until we get rolling with final table action from the Colossus at the World Series of Poker 2020 online on GGPoker. So what do you expect, David, at the beginning of this final table? Because as we've mentioned, there's a pretty awkward dynamic here with these pretty shallow stack sizes.
I think we're going to see a lot of raise and take. It's just fold to the end, someone raise, fold until someone gets a hand early. They're going to raise. It's going to take a cooler, two people getting a hand for us to see some action. Unless one of the short stacks, like AJ Chabra, could just pick up like ace-9, like we just saw, folds to right, the small, he's big, they shove all in, he's going to call. So unless we see something like that, I think we're going to see some straightforward poker to start. And I think once the stacks consolidate, it'll start to open up more.
The levels on GG are a little different when they get to the final table. Instead of doing it based on time, 20 or 30 minutes, they do it based on hands. How about that? So 30 hands for the final table before levels go out.
I like that. That's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know until you try it.
Sure.
There's no reason to stick to tradition. Might as well try new things. It might, big blind ante, right? That was something we never had, and now it's become like, why didn't we think of that before? So who knows, this might be a new way to do final tables. I'm excited to see it.
We touched on it earlier, but with Joni Jouhkimainen here, he certainly has the experience advantage, and you've got to sense that he's probably aware of that going into this final table, because to your point, in a $400 buy-in, you're going to get anybody and everybody for this one, and he certainly has the edge going in from an experience standpoint.
Right, there's a lot of wild cards here that we don't know. We don't know what their experience is. We can look at their results and kind of make a guess.
Sure.
But one of these guys could be a hidden cash game killer that we just have no idea about. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this.
All right, about 3.5, 4 minutes until we resume the action. Thank you all so much for tuning in on Twitch, twitch.tv/GGPokerOfficial, or just ggpoker.tv. That's an easy way to do it. We're also on Poker Central's YouTube channel. We're on GGPoker's YouTube channel. We are on PokerGo's Facebook page. We're keeping up with the chat. I see Sean is in the mix, Chan is in the mix, Boo is in the mix, Jojo, Grateful Mouse. The chat is popping off, and we greatly appreciate that. We cannot wait to start the action for you. Almost 600K up top. Do I dare ask you, since you're the analyst, to make a prediction for this final table?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's so much variance, but I'm going to go with Joni just because. PLO is my favorite game of choice. He's a PLO guy. We got to stick together. Like to see him take it down. But I'd be, I'm just going to enjoy the show.
Hey, I'm going to enjoy it as well. David came into the studio today and he was like, "Hey, can we do the PLO event also?" I'm like, I mean, I don't think we're set up for that, but sure, so maybe David will just stick around and call some PLO action.
I mean, yeah, if you guys want to, let's do it, man. I mean, I've been watching a lot of Joey Ingram. Stream some PLO cash games. That was a lot of fun to watch.
The great game of Pot Limit Omaha.
Yeah, there's been some good streams this summer. I mean, it's not the same as being at the Rio, and then watching the streams after on PokerGo with Tuckman and the crew. I missed that, but we had him for the WSOP events here. You were streaming, which was great. I watched Berkey streams. I've been watching Joe. I mean, there's been a lot of poker content this summer, which is it's cool to see. It's cool to see everybody adapting to what's out there, and everybody's doing a great job. And I liked it. I enjoyed it.
To your point, I do think that the World Series of Poker just adapted very well to the circumstances that they were handed, and we could see these online events, like you mentioned, just become a staple moving forward.
Yeah, what would be cool, because people have kind of been like, oh, it would be great if there was like a winter World Series of Poker. Maybe put the online poker series in the winter, assuming we have our Vegas. So you have kind of one in June and one in December, although December is pretty big here for poker, but have it where, you have a Vegas one, or Vegas and Jersey, hopefully more eventually, and then you fly to Mexico, fly to Canada, or everybody in the international countries can play. And we have a series there with bracelets. Have WSOP Europe, have Australia again, Asia, all these other different WSOPs. It could be great. We could have bracelets being given out 365 days a year.
I do think that the possibilities are endless, and a lot of that is thanks to GG. It feels like GG has really taken massive steps, even just over this last year.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're a sponsor of the show, and it's played on that, but I'm going to say I'm really impressed with everything I've seen from it so far. The tournament offerings look great. The turnouts are good. The software just looks so cool to me, and I'm not just saying that. Like, some of these features, I like to squeeze cards in real life. I get to do that here. I love the little graphics pop up. You can have Daniel come up and make, Jazz an emote. I just think it's cool. So I'm excited to get down and try it out and play, and hopefully we get GG here in America one day.
So can we get a commitment from you, though, that maybe for the main event, you'll take a trip down south to Mexico or wherever you need to go?
I really think I'm a huge favorite to do it. I think so.
Okay.
I've been talking. I mean, I think it's in September, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
my daughter's not going to resume school in person, so
Sure.
it's online, so she can be home here, and I can go there, and I can just play and come back. So I think you're going to see me in the field.
Okay. That is good to know. All right, we are a little bit
$25 million.
more than 30 seconds. A $25 million guarantee, by
It's
the way.
ambitious.
How absurd
that
is
is
that?
ambitious. I mean, they're taking a risk, but I don't think it's a big risk. I think you're going to see everybody who's a player, and they have satellites. They have these like phase tournaments where it's structured really well. I've seen, so I think you're going to see that guarantee hit. $25 million is going to happen.
And then it would be the biggest online poker tournament in history. If the turnout for the Colossus was any kind of sign, then they're going to be in good shape for this main event. Almost $600,000 up top in this one. That is the biggest first place payout for a World Series of Poker online bracelet event. So let us get to the action. Let us start play. The final table of the Colossus is now underway.
Oh,
Let
look
us
at this
do it.
feature.
Yeah.
I remember reading about this. Before we begin, players are given the option to switch seats. The short stack will choose, and then it goes around. So it's kind of like musical chairs. It's kind of weird. I don't know if I'm sure there's some game theory to it.
There probably is.
Someone's going to figure it out. But as of now, I have no idea what I do. I'd probably just be like, I'm just going to stay where I am. Especially being first. Because
Right.
if you're first, what does it matter? So pretty weird. I think the chip leader just gets to position himself where he wants to be. It's basically at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would say so. And again, you said it. It goes from short stack to big stack. So this is just another innovation from GGPoker.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's preference where you want to be on the screen, as a player, you can select and rotate the table. So
Right.
it's not about that. It's purely positioning yourself to other players. So it's not something I've thought about what I would do, and I have no idea.
Well, Agate Ose, time expired. Just going to say no thank you. I'll just stay where I'm seated. Maybe was confused, like you're saying. How about Andre Figueiredo? I like the music, too. It builds a little bit of drama now that we're at the final table of the Colossus. All right, gonna switch seats with Jouhkimainen. That's interesting. Action is now on Tom DELAINE.
Yeah, because the earlier you go, your move gets kind of undone by
Yeah.
people later, so.
Tom's going to switch with James.
This is wild.
So intriguing.
Yeah.
Reno Sutla out of Estonia. Going to switch with Tom. Okay, let's get to know Joni Jouhkimainen while he chooses his seat.
Hi, I'm Joni Jouhkimainen, 29 years old, poker professional from Helsinki, Finland. I played poker for around 10 years now. My main game is PLO, but I played a lot of tournaments lately too because of World Series of Poker and WPT and all these tournament series online. This week has been pretty wild. I got sick right after the day two, right after I made it to final table in this tournament. But now I'm getting better, and I'm actually having my friend's wedding at the same day. Poker player Jens Kyllönen gets married, so I will be playing this final table in the middle of his wedding. So we'll see. It's a big day for both of us.
What a boss.
Yeah, a big day,
What a
I would
boss.
say. His buddy's getting married. It's Jens Kyllönen, who you've also probably run into on the PLO streets. Getting married today, and he's just going to go ahead and, okay, I'll just play a final table.
During the pre-flop, you'll be given 30 seconds to act, even if you have more than 30 seconds on your game clock. And I read there was something about watch your game clock. It's based on something else. I didn't see that, but.
Right, and I think later on in the final table, you'll get a boost to that time bank. How about AJ just starting the festivities off with kings and off 5.5 bigs? Okay,
Yeah,
that works for the first hand.
I like this. We get cards up,
Yeah.
and we get it before the action. Usually in live poker, you watch as people squeeze, we see
Right.
the hand. So we know not only does he have kings here, he's going to get action from the ace-king in the small blind. This is great. This is cool.
Paraskevas out of Greece in the small blind does have the ace-king. Jeff Platt alongside David Williams. Thank you all so much for joining us. Final table coverage of the World Series of Poker Colossus on GGPoker. Paraskevas will just go ahead and reshove, and here we go. Just like that, AJ Chabra all in and at risk with kings against ace-king. So far, so good for AJ. Just looking to dodge an ace on the river. We will squeeze it. Ace on the river!
Oh, wow.
How's that to start off our World Series of Poker Colossus coverage?
Yikes. I was going to say AJ was going to jump up to 4th or 5th place,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, he's our 9th place finisher.
And just like that, we have a new chip leader. It is Paraskevas Sokaridis out of Greece, up to more than 150 million. Just 30 bigs. Nice little 16K pay jump for everybody else.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. But no one else had a hand, so it's not like anyone could play anyways.
Sure.
But this is, I'm going to be honest, this is kind of strange commentating knowing the hands upcoming. Because my brain, the way it works, I can't stop imagining what's going to play out. Like I'm like, oh, he has 2 5s, which he just folded in the small blind. That's the ICM pressure we talk about. The pay jumps are so big. You would think you're going to ship that right there with 2 5s against the button raise, but he really, look, the jump here is about $23,000. So
yeah, and there it is. Ajay Chabra out of Canada finishes in 9th for a little bit less than $41,000. This is certainly an intriguing layout. 8 players are left. Up top is almost 600K. It is the largest first place payout in WSOP Online Bracelet Event history. Thank you, Kevin Martin, for stopping by in the chat. I see Joey Ingram in there.
Our new chip leader is just running it over. He won that pot, became the chip leader, picked up the ace, got the 5s to fold because the 5s knows there's 1 stack shorter, 2 very close.
Yeah.
And now he's picked up ace queen.
And it's just going to go full Rip City mode here.
Yeah, I mean, the only play, he's really putting Arunas in a weird spot. Right. Arunas can't call because if you were to have that chip stack come in as the chip leader and get
could you imagine and bust 8th? Yeah.
So he's taking a risk here. He's like, you don't have kings or better. Because even with queens, it's kind of a tough spot. I think I would probably call because I'm just a sicko, but I mean, it's pretty rough to call there with queens.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point. And that's just a perfect sign of how much pressure some of these players will feel. Andre Figueiredo with about 8 bigs and the king jack of hearts says all of it.
Yeah, it's better to, like, the difference with this and the 5s, you don't want to call it off.
Yes.
Because you know for sure you are turning your cards over and running it out. You ship that king jack there, most likely you don't even get called and you pick up those blinds. So
if you do get called with the king jack of hearts, as we've got some hands here, it doesn't play terribly when you see all 5 cards, as Joni Jouhkimainen has kings under the gun. We see Agate has the ace jack of spades right behind Jouhkimainen.
I was just about to say, I'm going to try not to play predictive poker.
Okay.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, he's got kings, probably shipping the ace jack. We're going to see. I was going to say, just going to call it as it goes. But look, ace jack of spades folds, for the same reasons we've talked about. He knows he can't really profitably just call. If he's going to play it, he's got to ship it in.
Yeah, it's got to be all of it.
Still 6 players to act. There's shorter stacks, huge jumps.
Yeah, we know Yoni's pretty strong under the gun.
So I think ace jack of spades there, given all those variables, is a clear fold.
Queen jack with 8 bigs behind. Now, the more popular thing is that you can defend off these short stacks. You know, back in the day, it was 10 bigs, got to be all in or fold.
I mean, he was getting 4-1 to call, but I think it's one of those things that could compound. Now you flop a pair, but it's like second pair. What do you do here? It could create so many weird situations. And again, it's all about these pay jumps.
My chair keeps sinking, so I'm just going to kind of go lower and lower and lower. But we'll be good. Be fine.
I'm not going to lie, I kind of like being able to see the whole picture.
This is pretty cool,
think about it.
Yeah.
I think that might be the innovation on like live poker. Show all the hands and let's see what people are going to do so we know when someone raises. Granted, you don't get that suspense of a guy behind peeling aces. Like, oh, sure. This is kind of cool.
Arunas with the queen 10 of spades and is just going to go ahead and rip it here. At about 24 bigs to start that hand.
Yeah, it's going to take, like I say, it's going to take 2 big hands to run into each other like we've seen for someone to get all in here.
So let's go through the layout for you. On the top left corner of the actual table, you see how many hands left we have in this blind level. You see how much of the prize pool is left and what our next payout is. Now that next payout should be updated because our next payout is worth $56,885. So that's what our final 8 are guaranteed. On the left-hand side of the screen, you see the leaderboard. You see David, you see myself, you see the payouts.
Tom DeLaine paused with ace-8 of hearts on the button there, but again, facing an all-in, not being the shortest stack and having a hand that's sort of speculative, pretty standard fold here. Happy to see all these players seem to understand the implications.
Arunas going min-raise here with the king-queen.
And we might see a flop here. Stacks are pretty deep relative.
We don't expect too much post-flop play, but it's possible between these 2 specific stacks. As Paraskevas does defend with the ace-5, it comes 4-4-3. Paraskevas with that gut shot, his ace-high is best. Arunas will fire, 7.5 million.
And I think if I'm holding the ace-5, I'm going to call here. You've got overcards, you've got a straight draw. Your opponent isn't likely to have hit that flop. Check raise, I like it. Put your opponent in a tough spot, especially being the chip leaders. Do you want to play a big pot?
And Paraskevas just putting max pressure on his opponents early on, up to almost 200 million in chips. That is almost 40 bigs. He's starting to separate himself from the rest of the pack.
I think you'd see a lot of players fold this king 10 quickly here, but Joni actually might mix it up. It's a weird spot if you raise here and one. I mean, I guess it's not that weird. You make it 10, one of these 30, 40,000 chip stack ships that you can just fold, but he opts to just give it up. I think he knows the chip leader can put him in a real tough spot. What happens if it folds the chip leader and he re-raises them all in? He's going to have to muck it. So I think he's just going to conserve those chips.
Agateose is going to go for it there with the 9-8 on the button. There is one other super short stack in James Lai with 5 bigs.
Yeah, it's a little strange there with someone being that much shorter than you in the pay jump being like that with only 9 high on the button. Stepping out. Joni with king, queen suited.
King, queen suited off 20 bigs in the hijack. He's at his friend's Jens Kulinen's wedding. So I don't know if they're saying their vows and he's kind of under the table with the cell phone or what.
If he's actually in the wedding, like a
He might be. He might be.
That would be incredible. I think they have mobile software too, so he could kind of have it up on his,
mobile software,
he could have it on his phone while he's standing there on the iPad or something like that.
Andre has a pretty hand in the 8-7 of hearts, just not a playable one. Arunas will defend with the ace-5. Comes king 10-6, top pair for Joni Jouhkimainen.
I imagine we see a standard c-bet and probably a quick fold from the ace-5. Unlike the 4-4-3 flop, this flop connects with your opponent's holdings a lot more, or they're just already beating you. Pretty tough to continue.
Joni fires and wins. So you see that clock under his cards. That's how much time total that the players have to act throughout this final table. I do think, though, that they get a boost at some point.
Okay.
Perhaps when the level changes, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But that is not a per hand clock as of now. That's treated as a per table clock. Cool giveaway from our friends at GGPoker. They're giving away 5 $20 tournament tickets. All you got to do is type Colossus in the chat. That seems easy. Maybe you should get in the mix. Oh, that's a good point.
2 S's.
That's a good point.
COLOSSUS. COLOSSUS.
There you go.
I did win the spelling bee in 3rd grade.
Oh, did you really? Don't mean to brag over here, but I mean,
3rd grade.
Spelling bee champion. This set up pretty well for Andre. Andre Figueiredo, out of Brazil. We've seen plenty of World Series of Poker streams from GGPoker ambassador from Brazil, Felipe Ramos.
Yeah, I was watching before we started here. Was that live or was that replays?
I think that was him playing earlier today. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, his setup was nice. It was a real nice stream.
Yeah, that was sleek, huh?
Good layout.
He's
couple
firing
streams,
just about
cameras
all.
everywhere.
It was really nice.
It's good. I've been quite the gamer. I play a lot of video games, online games. I watch a lot of streams, gaming streams, big into Fortnite streams back in the day. So seeing poker streaming really kind of kick it into the next gear is nice. It's good to see. I'm happy to see both kind of my interest.
And so are you going to get in the mix as far as streaming yourself?
I like a stream being live where you can interact with your chat. And it's not hard. You can't really do that with poker unless you put cards down.
Right.
Cards down is not as fun for the viewer. So I've thought about streaming poker. It's just not what I want to do because I don't like the delay.
The delay makes everything awkward.
Like I was trying to chat to Berkey last night. I know he had a delay, but I'm like hoping in 5 minutes. I was hoping in 5 minutes he would see what I said, scroll by and address it, but then he was in a pot and it run on by, and I was like, this is too hard.
Okay, so we know David's camera went out. We are fixing that right now. We have an excellent crew here at Poker Central to solve really every issue that we run into. So Andre Figueiredo rips it here with the 9s. It's James Lai with king 10 off that super short stack in the small blind, just with 3 bigs behind.
If he wasn't the shortest of stacks, I think he could be like, well, I'm going to wait out the short stack. But he knows everyone's waiting on him. He has no choice.
And it'll be a flip for his tournament life. Looking for a king or a 10. Needs to find one of those outs on the river. We'll squeeze it.
64%. Oh, look at this deck. This is a squeezer's deck.
This is the good squeeze.
We got a squeezer's deck.
This is the good deck.
We got pips. We got paint. And good game for James.
We say good game indeed to James. Finishes in 8th for more than $56,000. That is a very strong showing.
I'm going to Mexico. We got Squeezer's deck.
Okay, then you're in. That was the final
I used to put I'm sure a lot of players did this, put like a Post-it note on your screen or your finger and kind of slide your cards when you played on Sundays.
Absolutely.
We all have done it. But software built it in. You don't have to get your fingers on your screen.
I love it. King-9 of clubs for Rano Sutla out of Estonia with 13 bigs.
Yeah.
Cut off.
It's the kind of, yeah, he's just going to rip it in. He's like, you know what, guys, big blind. Two of the stacks are much shorter than him. He's really only worried about Joni. And he gets it through.
It's an important pickup. It's a big boost to that kind of a stack. James Lai out in 8th place for $56,885. That means
here we go again.
That our final 7 are guaranteed $79K and about a $32,000 pay jump from 7th to 6th. Let me see a couple pairs here.
A little over 15 bigs. It is confusing that the ante is in front of him for a little bit. I'm like, wait, he didn't make it. How? I feel like they should scoot it up a little more into the center.
More to the center.
Oh, just a min raise here. Kind of a strange spot because you do allow your opponent to see the flop cheap, and there are a lot of overcard, a lot of boards that are hard to play.
And the chip leader,
and the chip leader is going to be a little loose if you let them in cheap.
Yeah.
Whereas if you rip it, it puts them to a real decision. But you still want to get some value out of your hand, so you can't rip them all. But
Paraskevas defends. It comes Jack 6-4. 2 clubs. Rano has the 9 of clubs.
I think with only 1 overcard, you can be feel a little more comfortable with your hand. You can make a C bet here. See what your opponent does. Fire about 10,000.
Also can protect your 9s a little bit. Fire small. Bet 6.5 million.
A little over 1 big blind.
Paraskevas with the 5s.
It's going to peel 1, picks up a straight draw now.
Checks again on the turn. 39 million in the pot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rano's probably trying to deduce if his opponent had a jack, if his opponent had the 5-7, some kind of straight draw. It's kind of, you let him in with a lot of holdings by raising so small. Those things are possible. I think he wants to keep the pot small, protect his life, his tournament life.
And he does check back on the turn. His hand is best here.
I would like to see him just rip it here, put maximum pressure on it.
Yeah.
There's 2 shorter stacks. Like, do you want to gamble? Do you want to say, is this hand good enough for me to not end up in 7th place? But he doesn't. He's just going to check it back. He has showdown value with the 5s. You can't imagine your opponent's folding an overpair. They're not folding a jack. And what are the chances they have a pair of 9s if they played like this? But that would have been a power move to just rip it in right into them. It's hard to call with a lot of hands there, except for your super strong ones with those 2 really small stacks.
To your point, checking back on the turn, would he have just gone ahead and gotten the chips in with a jack or an overpair?
Exactly.
Now you need to put some massive pressure.
So that right there makes you think, oh, these 5s are probably good. Maybe I can catch a bluff. And I like this little value bet with the 9s here.
It. About half pot.
He correctly deduces he doesn't have a jack. He didn't have a straight. Probably doesn't have 2 pair on the jack 8, 6, 4, 3.
Yeah.
I think if you're him, you're thinking your opponent probably has some kind of 6, and you're trying to get some value out of it by having him maybe put you on an ace high.
Paraskevas lays it down. Good fold with the 5s.
Yeah, very, very good. Well played hand by both, I think.
Nice pickup for Rano Sutla with the 9s. Did we rewind a little bit? Okay. We'll get to the next hand.
Oh, whoa. We've got that infinity effect.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. We're fixing
technical
this.
difficulties?
Yeah, no problem at all. We're going to get back to the table soon. We'll just chat. Hello. Welcome. Hi. How are you? I'm Jeff Platt. He's David Williams. We're happy to have you here on GGPoker's Twitch channel, on Poker Central's YouTube channel, on GGPoker's YouTube channel, and on PokerGo's Facebook page. We are all over the map. And David, speaking of Twitch, you mentioned it briefly earlier, but the popularity of poker playing on Twitch seems to have skyrocketed really just over these last couple months, even with the World Series of Poker.
Yeah, and I think you got to give all the credit to the players that are out there streaming. I mean, they're doing, like I say, there's some great jobs, high production value, people getting their layout set up, good quality streams. I mean, we even got two big names, Mike Mattisau, Daniel Negreanu streaming. They both had some very entertaining streams.
At times, yeah.
But everybody's getting in the streaming game, and it's fun to see. I mean, it's cool to see everybody's personality because you don't get that when you watch someone at a live poker table. Most people are quiet. Some of the big names talk, but in general, when they're playing hands, you don't get to hear their thought processes. You don't get to really. It's almost like you're playing alongside them when you watch these streams, and that's cool. You're getting to see a lot of personalities that you didn't know otherwise, and getting to know a lot of these players.
All right, so again, we will be back to the action shortly. It is the final table of the Colossus. There's a 32K pay jump. So David, what do we have in store? Is the play been kind of what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering if there'd be any wild cards, maybe some amateurs doing some kind of crazy stuff, but everything's been fairly standard, fairly what you'd expect. No one's gotten out of line. We've had some bad beats, you know, a cooler, kings, ace, king, but so far, no surprises here. It's kind of played out how I expected. I said it's going to take a cooler to kind of get someone out. The shortest stack had the pressure and had to ship it with the king 10, lost the flip. But other than that, we haven't really seen any big stacks get in pots together. When they have, they've been cautious. So I think I can say it's going to take a few more eliminations, the stacks to consolidate, the blind ratios to get a little smaller so people have bigger stacks, and then we can see some more interesting kind of jousting.
As we break down the numbers for the Colossus, how about this? Almost $5 million in the prize pool. That is the largest ever for an online WSOP Bracelet event. Almost $600,000 up top. That is the largest ever first place prize payout for an online WSOP Bracelet event. Almost 13,000 entries, 1,575 spots paid. As if all that weren't enough, the winner also gets a WSOP Europe main event trip. You've been over to King's Casino in Rosvedov?
I haven't, yeah.
Okay.
It's tough because usually the World Series of Poker Europe is during the school year.
Right.
And I have my daughter, and it's hard to leave to fly to Rosvedov, and it's not an easy place to get to. You know, you got to fly to like one of the main hubs, then there, and then you don't want to go for just one event. If you're going to go that far, you want to go for a series. So I don't really want to leave her for that many weeks, like 2 weeks at least, if not, I think it's a full month during the school year. So it's been tough for me to get there, but you know, poker will be there when she goes to college, so I'm not too worried. There will be poker.
You'll be able to take plenty of poker trips. So again, we are waiting for the feed to come back from the good people at GG. So while we wait on that, if you guys in the chat have any questions for David, I'm keeping an eye on the Twitch chat on GG Poker's Twitch channel. Feel free to fire those questions out there. So David, what has quarantine life been like for you over these last couple months? I mean, I know a lot of time with your daughter. Are you able to fit a little bit of poker in here and there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing, like I say, I played some WSOP tournaments, playing various like private apps with friends for fun, just hanging out. I just, you know, enjoying. It's not much different than my normal life. I usually go to the Aria and play a couple times a week. I haven't been able to do that, obviously. I mean, I think they're open, but it's not our usual game. We had a mixed game. We played twice a week or once a week here and there. Haven't been able to do that, but I've spent a lot of time at home catching up on shows. I've actually been, I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I work
there we
out.
go.
I do cardio now, which I never used to do. I do cardio. I'm 40 now, so I do cardio every other day. I actually have to do a lot today. Sort of, you know, got some golf lessons now. I'm still pretty terrible, but it's fun. I'm enjoying it. So yeah, I've just been trying to stay safe, stay home, and enjoy time to do other things, not play so much poker. But I'm really itching to kind of get back at the table.
I feel like you can go hard during quarantine to either end of the spectrum, right? So you can either work out hard, eat right, you have a lot more time on your hands to change the game, or you could be like, I'm just gonna sit on the couch.
Well, I'm kind of doing both. It's really weird. Like, it sounds like, oh, cardio, I've been eating right, but then there's days where like, oh, I just had 40 nuggets from Chick-fil-A or McDonald's yesterday and sat on the couch all day. So I'm kind of just all over the place this quarantine. But hey, I'm maintaining the weight, my cardio levels are up, so no complaints.
There we go. It's a beautiful thing. Good question from Toda to David Williams. Asked David, who do you think is the best poker player right now? The best poker player in the game right now?
Right now? Well, I mean, with quarantine, I don't know who's been playing what with quarantine. I just been watching streams, and shout out to Matt Berkey. I mean, every time I watch, that guy is just down there in these tournaments. And then I think he showed some on Twitter. He was playing cash games and just like crushed some guy for like 70-something thousand, I think I remember. So, I mean, obviously it's subjective. There's so much going on in poker. Who knows what's being played? But from what I've been watching, I've been really impressed with Matt Berkey, and I like his analysis, his thought process. He explains it well, his demeanor. I mean, I'm a big fan. And I was already a big fan, but after watching these streams, I'm an even bigger fan.
Good question from Pete in the chat, which will kind of put you on the spot a little bit. I'm going to adjust the question a little bit from Pete. Do you have a favorite hand, whether you're involved in it or not, that you look back on from either high stakes poker or poker after dark or World Series of Poker coverage, where you're like, that hand brings me maximum entertainment value?
That's on the spot. I'm just trying to think of what the first thing that comes to my mind. You know what? I got a good one.
Okay.
And it's a funny. It's so weird because people say we live in a sim, and I think back to this and I go, man, we must. The year was, I believe it was 2007, but I could be off. It was a 5K rebuy PLO event, I think. Someone can look this up. Some of these details could be 6. It could be. I know it was that event. I think Phil Galfin, I believe, won it.
Okay.
Okay. Deep in the tournament, maybe 2 or 3 tables left. I'm at a table with Johnny Chan and Phil Hellmuth. So you can find that tournament where it was like me, Johnny Chan, and Phil Hellmuth all in the last like 21.
Yeah.
And you'll figure out which it was. It was a PLO event.
Okay.
We end up at a pot where on the turn, I have Broadway. And I think I have a flush redraw. And like Johnny bets, I call and Phil calls. Like the three, me and 2 of my idols from when I was young.
Yeah.
2 from the rounder scene. You know, was it? No, they both won. I think, yeah, Phil beat John. It was Johnny's 3rd year, but Phil beat him. Anyway,
Yes, exactly.
I'm in this pot, and we go to the river, and the flush comes.
Okay.
And I make the nut flush. And Johnny bets, and I raise him, and Phil folds, and Johnny thinks for a while. And it was on the rope, because it was like 2 or 3 tables left, big crowd. And Johnny folds, and it was like the movie. He literally looks at me and goes, "Did you have it?" And the best part is, I didn't have to hesitate, and I wasn't even it came out of me. I was like, "I don't remember, John." And then everybody just starts roaring, laughing, even Johnny. And Johnny gave a laugh, and I was like, oh my God, that really just happened. That really just happened, I think in a huge spot. And it was just like such a cool moment. I'll never forget that hand. It was so sick.
So that was 3 years after your big run in the WSOP main event. For years even after that, did you still find yourself when you're sitting with the Johnny Chan or Phil Hellmuth like, oh my God, this is them? How long did it take to kind of get over that kind of feeling?
I mean, in the moment, I don't think I thought that, because I think one of the things that's allowed me to have success is that I'm able to separate myself from those feelings when I'm at the table. When I'm at the table, even though, you know, these guys have way more accomplishments than me, or I've played with Phil, who's a good friend of mine, Ivy.
Yeah.
He's a way better poker player than me. But when I'm at the table with him, I think I'm the best. And you have to believe that if you're going to compete. And it doesn't, what's happening in the moment doesn't get to me. It's later when you look back at it. So when I look back at that moment, I'm like, wow, I was at a huge table with Johnny and Phil, and it was crazy. But then in that moment, they were just 2 other guys I got to beat and take their chips. So at the moment, I didn't think that. But I mean, when you look back, it's kind of cool.
And just to connect this story all the way around, my first World Series of Poker was 2007, and I walked in and I was just overwhelmed by everything. And I had an old college friend that I met up with, and he's like, hey, I know this guy, David Williams. Have you heard of him? I'm like, yeah, David Williams. You know, he wasn't that big of a poker fan, but I'm like, yeah, David Williams. So he introduced me to you, and then Johnny Chan came up and started talking to you, and you're like, hey guys, this is Johnny Chan. I'm like, yeah, I know.
I briefly remember
I know this is Johnny Chan. He had that all-in energy drink.
Yes.
You remember when that drink was big back in 2007?
Yeah.
It was weird, and that just kind of connects everything. All right, so for those of you just joining us, we're still waiting on our final table Colossus feed to get in from the good people at GGPoker. There are 7 players left. All are guaranteed almost $80,000. They do include Jouhkimainen, who is still in the mix, all looking for a first place prize of almost $600,000, the biggest first place prize for a WSOP online bracelet event. A ton of questions in the chat about MasterChef. So how do you look back on that experience years later?
So I'll say this. I'm glad I did it.
Okay.
I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about human nature, right? If you had told me, or you tell anyone, hey, we're going to drop you in a field. We're going to drop you in the field with a bunch of strangers.
Yeah.
And you got to make 75 of a plate in 2 hours. I was like, it's impossible. But I was able to complete those tasks, and you learn that you could do a lot more than you think you can. And that applies on all areas of life.
Okay, so we do have the table feed back. They are on a break, so nice timing, and it allowed us to talk a little bit more about MasterChef. And what goes on, like, behind the scenes in that show? Is it a little different than people might expect?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You know, I always believed when you see a cooking show and they say you have 10 seconds left, everybody's scrambling. And I'm always like, how do they always, the time goes off, everybody's good. I'm like, there is a definite pause. I'm like, okay guys, chop, chop, let's get this ready. So my first competition, the time is ticking down. They're like 10, 9, 8, and I scramble to get it done. I'm thinking I'm gonna have like some extra time. And they're like, hands up. And then they're like, okay, cut, and they're doing this, and I'm like, when do we get to go back and actually kind of like clean it up and finish? And they look at me and they look around, they're like, what do you mean? I was like, come on, like, I still have a little smudge here, and I want to kind of put a little thing here, and they were like,
right,
it's over, bro.
Yeah,
they were like,
that's it.
30 seconds means 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's not extra? And they're like, no. And I was like, oh my God, is this really how it is? And that's how it is. Like, it's it's what you think. But like, to go back to my earlier point, we are capable of so much more than we actually know. But how often are we put to the fire? How often are you given some crazy task that you have in our daily life that you have to complete in like a short time frame? It doesn't happen. So we're not pushed to the edge, so we don't know what we're capable of. And that's the thing the show taught me, so that you can complete a task that you may not think you can. So it's given me a lot more confidence just in life on getting things done. Like, something may seem tough, but I'm like, yeah, we can get that done.
So with that said, would you ever consider making more TV appearances outside of the poker world in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I really enjoyed it. There were moments where it wasn't fun. We were quarantined, which now everyone's used to, but we were literally sequestered in a hotel as long as you were still on the show. And since I made it to the finals, there was 57 days I'm in a hotel in California with no phone. No, they take your devices. So when you're not filming, you're just sitting in a hotel room watching Marriott TV, eating Marriott room service for 57 straight days. It kind of drives you nuts. So that part I didn't like about it, but I understand why. So I don't think I would go back because I missed my freedom. I missed my daughter. There was too much that was like taken away. Like I said, I'm happy I did it. It was cool. It was a cool experience. Gordon Ramsay is the best. Like, that guy is just one of the coolest people in the world.
That's really
like,
cool to hear.
Is what I say. Because he oozes, like, you're just, like, even me, I'm starstruck. You talk to him, you just kind of stare at the guy. You're like, this guy's real. But then you watch him cook, and he's just so fast and effortless and so knowledgeable. He's actually, you wonder, is he just a celebrity, or is he actually a really good chef? And that's all for show? No, he's a badass. Like, this guy knew everything, was just a wizard, but he was cool, friendly. Like, he's the best. And we stayed in touch. He's a cool guy.
I want to bring this back to poker because I think it relates to this final table. You were kind of thrown into the spotlight relatively early in your poker career, so you were under the quote-unquote bright lights. Did it take you a long period of time to adjust to, you know, having the cameras always on you in future tournaments?
Not really. I mean, I kind of, it's, you know, there was I'm not bragging, I don't know what this means, but it's weird. In high school, the superlatives, you know, the yearbook, most likely to do this. There was one of those most likely to be famous. And that's what I was picked as. And I don't really consider, obviously we're not famous like A-list, we're freaking poker players, but people know you. So I think I was just always kind of enjoyed the spotlight, like just in school. I was kind of the loud, obnoxious, the one people knew and liked, you know, I was just out there. So I think it wasn't new for me. I think I kind of just enjoy being in the spotlight, knowing people. So I think having poker cameras on you was just something that I adapted to well early. Now I'm more laid back. I just want to kind of stay home and be with my family. You know, I've had enough of that, but I enjoy it. Like things like this. Like I enjoy these opportunities, being on camera, talking to people, answering questions, relating my experiences, talking about poker. I like this stuff.
All right, well, we do have 6 players left. Let us take you back to the action. What we missed was Tom DeLaine's elimination in 7th place. He ran his ace-jack right into Joni Jouhkimainen's pocket queens. That accounted for the upswing for Jouhkimainen. Okay, so we are back. We thank you guys for sticking with us. We apologize for those technical difficulties. So here we go. 6 players remain, almost $600,000 up top. Agate Ose with jacks in the cutoff.
Yeah.
Just gonna rip it.
Like 13 bigs, standard rip it, and nobody can call here. But like I said, look, our elimination, we heard it was what, ace-jack into queens?
Yeah.
It's going to take big hands. You're not going to see anyone really get out of line to bust, I think, at this stage. Now, I think if the stacks get deeper and we get down to 4 or 5 players, 4 players, 3 players, you're going to see some jousting.
This could be pretty intriguing if it folds around to the small blind.
Yeah, I mean, that's a spot where I think you might want to rip it here. I mean, you do have 20 bigs, so there's no real need to rip it, but he might raise and the ace-7 might rip it on him.
Right.
And then do you call? I mean, yeah, we can see some fireworks.
And knowing that he's ripping relatively wide, that ace-7 doesn't look terrible. Now, there is one, I don't want to say super short stack, but there's one significant short stack in Andre Figueiredo, who has about 9 bigs. The next shortest stack is about 15 bigs.
I actually like this to just go ahead and go all in, put the maximum pressure on him with the other stacks. That way you don't allow him to just call and see a flop.
It's so hard for him to call with most
put it all
hands,
in or fold. No games here.
So the blinds go up 3 million, 6 million. So Arunas takes down that pot. Arunas says, just call me Arunas S. Everybody messes up my last name. Arunas out of Lithuania could become Lithuania's first ever WSOP Bracelet winner. Lithuanians have won more than $5 million at the World Series of Poker, bordering Latvia and Belarus, a total population of almost 3 million people in Lithuania. Could he get it done?
Is that where Tony G is from, right? I think so?
Yeah, I believe so.
Lithuanian Parliament member?
Yes.
I love Tony G. We need more of Tony G in poker. 2 9s. He just raised it up with the what? Ace King last hand?
Yes, Ace King got it through. 9's this hand. Going to rip it again. Should get this one through. About 10 bigs.
It's always a strange feeling when you're in this spot and you're hoping, you know, you're short, but they're shorter.
Yeah.
Well, he's the shortest, but then you get hands one after another. You start to wonder, am I going to lose credibility here? Obviously, nines you're fine, but like right now, let's say you picked up like ace jack. He's like, oh man, I don't know if I can go for 3 in a row, but it turns out good thing because there's nines in the big blind.
And if it folds around to the small blind, this is going to be pretty intriguing too.
Yeah, this is the shortest stack now.
And he's going to run right into the nines.
Easy call
Here
here.
we go, all in and a call. Agate Ose all in and at risk with the queen 8 against the pocket nines.
Ooh, not a great
So
flop.
far so good for the nines.
Needs a queen and only a queen. 6%. We get to actual squeeze the side now. Is it paint? No paint.
It is not paint. And that will do it for Agate Ose, the Austrian, out in 6th place for almost $112,000. And that's about a 45K pay jump for everybody else.
Yeah, just $400, and I picked up 112
Right.
sitting in my chair in my underwear eating Cheetos.
Pretty good ROI, I would say.
Huge stack now for our chip leader.
Yeah,
Almost
Paraskevas
250,000.
Sokoritis out of Greece.
Oh, the blinds have been raised, by the way.
That's
3
right.
hands
We
ago.
just went up to 3 million, 6 million. So we have 2 players that are over 20 bigs in Joni Jouhkimainen and Paraskevas Sokoritis. Paraskevas will raise button here with the ace-jack of hearts.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy, Arunas rips it with the ace-3.
Oh, wow. 2 shorter stacks. It's kind of like the mind game here, though, right? Your Paraskevas, you're like, well, he knows there's these 2 stacks shorter, and he's willing to put it all in. His hand
Sure, he's
must
gotta be pretty strong
His hand
here.
must be pretty strong.
But his ace-jack of hearts just
Ace
too
jack
good.
of hearts, 5-handed is really good, but against a guy that knows there's 2 shorter stacks, is it that good? Like, you'd think his range is fairly tight here. It's actually kind of a sick, like, meta move. Like, I don't, yeah.
It's a really interesting spot for
I
Paraskevas.
think the hand is just too strong. Yeah, I was saying you've got 2, even if you lose, you're in second. I think the hand is just too strong to get to fold.
So here we go, all in and a call and a jack ball on the flop to take the drama out of it.
No longer
4
dead.
on the river, though, with
Offsuit
Save
4.
Arunas.
Offsuit 4.
That's paint.
Not a 4. Now we have a massive chip lead.
That'll do it for Arunas. He says call him Arunas S. We'll give it a shot. Arunas Sapitavicius plays by Angry Goose on GG, finishes in 5th place for $156,964. And yeah, now David, you said it. This is the absolute dream for Paraskevas.
Yeah, I want to go back to Arunas, though. He's got to be kicking himself because it's a tough spot. You came in as a chip leader to get 5th. He's going to be questioning his move with ace-3 there. I mean, I get it. You've got an ace against an aggressive button. And like I said, he's going to have to suspect that you have a pretty good hand if you don't care about the shorter stacks. But he's got to second-guess himself for a while, I think, there.
Yeah, I think so, too. As Ranu Sutla just rips it in.
10-8 of spades.
Gets that one through. Andre Figueiredo, our short stack with about 10 bigs.
And we've got, what is that, 50, almost 50 against how many? Yep.
All 4 of these players guaranteed $220,000.
Almost a $250,000.
Yeah, about an 88K pay jump from 4th to 3rd. Just massive stakes here. What a turnout, almost 13,000 entries. Raise and take it for Ranu Sutla out of Estonia.
I mean, this pay jump is so massive. I think if I'm Ranu Sutla, I'm really going to wait out Andre.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. This hand, yeah, you're going to get in there, but I don't know if I'm necessarily even raising that last hand. I think my range is going to be super tight to put the pressure on Andre. It's such a large jump.
Raises for about half of it here with the king, queen of diamonds. Paraskevas has the ace-5 of spades in the small blind.
Yeah, I mean, that raise is the same as moving all in. He's based. No, everyone knows he's not going to put half his stack in the fold.
And then fold, yeah. 4 players left. You see on the top left corner of the table screen that the blinds will go up in 23 hands.
So does it stay 30 even heads up?
That's a good question. I believe it does, but not positive.
Because that's quite a few hands heads up.
Yeah, that's true. King deuce of hearts for Rano in the big blind. Defendable here, or are you just folding until Andre?
I mean, I think if it were a different situation, you could argue for defense here, but I think with the stacks this size and the implications of the pay jumps, I just don't think it's worth it.
will defend. It comes Queen 8-3, all diamonds. Paraskevas has the 9 of diamonds.
I mean, you're going to have to basically give up the pot because you're out of position almost every flop. And even when you connect, you can't love it, you know? Like, he's got the best hand right now, but he can't continue.
Paraskevas just able to put max pressure on Sutla in this spot, betting 7.2.
I mean, we did see a king deuce in the big blind get kind of feisty before the hands before the tournament.
Oh, the guy who got it in ahead.
He got check raised with the king deuce, and then the turn he let out, and the river folded it straight. We did. I think it was king deuce of hearts, or that was king deuce offsuit.
It was king deuce,
because the hearts would have been a flush.
Yeah.
All in here with ace, blind on blind.
I thought that you were mentioning my king deuce. I mean, don't mean to brag.
You have
folks
a king
made
deuce
a WSOP final table again. Not a brag, just something that happened.
Deuce, and you
don't like to brag about it, and I called it off in the big blind with king deuce against a small blind shove.
Oh. You hate to see it.
Yeah, he had queen 9 though, so obviously it's a fantastic call because we can be really results oriented. But then I lost, so maybe it's a terrible call. Anyways, back to the action. There are four people left in the WSOP Colossus with almost $600,000 up top.
Look at this. Well, before this raise, Reno is almost chipped up to second place.
Yeah.
He's right under Joni. Forgive me if is it Reno, Rano?
I think we're going to go with Rano. Rano Sutla.
Rano
Sutla out of Estonia. Career live tournament earnings of more than $600,000.
I prefer things like boner jams. Much easier to say.
That was Agate Ose's
Cantaloupe
name on
7,
GG.
Angry Goose. Much easier to say. I am going to go quickly lock up the name Boner Jam 69 on WSOP.com.
You got to do it.
Yeah, so you got to do a name change. I actually like that we use identities, full names.
Same.
I wish that was more common.
Same.
I guess I made my WSOP.com screen name just DW Poker. Everybody knows that's me.
Right.
But I feel like I'm kind of at a disadvantage because a lot of these like I'll be at a table, find out later, oh, you were playing with so-and-so, this crusher that I know. And I'm like, I had no idea that was him. And they know it's me for sure, unless it's some imposter using DW Poker, which is unlikely. So I kind of wish I'd gone with some name like that, or like a name that, like Boner Jams 82 or something like that, you know? Or everyone just had to use their names.
And I do think that WSOP.com will be headed in that direction after seeing what GG does with the revealing of some names throughout the tournament and then all the names at the final table. 4s for Jouhkimainen here.
Yeah, 4s are weird because like you likely have the best hand of the 4, but like you can't, if you get pressure back, you can't really do much unless it's from the short stack. But you do want to raise them, so you didn't run into anything. I think that's why you raise. Unlikely you're going to get some right back. Your opponents have a hand that could beat 4s.
King 4 of spades with 6 bigs on the button. He's the significant short stack now.
And yeah, he has no choice but to go all in here with 6 blinds. You know the blinds are coming, and the more you're just going to keep getting shorter and shorter. You have to make a move.
Jouhkimainen calls with the 4s. He sends off the fiery sun monster.
Yeah,
in great shape.
He's got to fade a king.
King come on the river. We'll squeeze it. Will we squeeze paint? We will not. And that will do it for Andre Figueiredo. Quite the run, though, from one of our bottom stacks. Was able to ladder up to 4th place and a $220,000 score.
Yeah, and now the 3rd place gets almost $310,000 with a $130,000 jump. Huge.
3rd to 2nd. Up top in this one, almost $600,000 plus a $15,000 package to WSOP Europe. 3 players remain.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this stage, they're going to have to open it up a little bit and start playing. I think we're going to see Paraskevas really maybe put the pedal to the metal and just put these boys both in a tough spot. You would expect it.
Sure.
He hasn't had to. It's kind of just come to him. He's had big hands when he's needed to. And other people have just busted around him. But I think we might see that happen here now. We got a limp on the button with 17 spades.
You like that, mixing it up?
Yeah, I mean, you got to limp some buttons. You can't always be raising. You can see some flops in position because then you can just take away the flops that hit everybody. I hope a C-bet here is going to win it because we can see the cards, but I think and most of the time it will. So you can kind of do different things. If you raise every button, you're going to be getting 3-bet a lot by the chip leader and have to give up a lot of chips.
Rana Sutla has 5 WSOP caches.
I think he was one of the more experienced players here at the final table. Not
won the
surprised to see him
2014 Estonian Championship of Poker.
Got ace king suited. No action from the 5-3.
Rano calls himself a total fish at Pot Limit Omaha, so maybe you should invite him to some of your PLO games.
Another ace king.
Queen 5 for Sutla in the small blind.
I think this hand here, we're gonna see what he's wanting to do. Okay, I was gonna say, if he just gives it up, he's like, okay, he's playing straightforward. If he's raising here, he's mixing it up. He's like, well, queen high stands to be the best hand most of the time. Out of the small blind, I'm gonna go ahead and raise here. I'm not afraid. He knows he can raise and fold and he's okay. It's not the end of the world. And he quickly folds. No Hollywood in here, I like that.
Right. Paraskevas Sokoritis out of Greece is our chip leader. About 60 bigs. 3-4 off here, Joni with Jack-10, Joni Jouhkimainen. He's played in a ton of high-stakes poker tournaments over this last 4 or 5 months. Just limp in with the Jack-10.
Yeah, I mean, I think his hand is so good. He doesn't want to raise and be raised off of it.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of hand where, like, he can limp, call a raise, because it wouldn't be that large. He can see flops. Gets a great flop here. Basically flopped his opponent almost dead. Just checks it to him. Tries to get a sneak a bet out of him.
Paraskevas checks back.
It's also small ball. Keep the pot small so you don't have to make a decision for your tournament life. It's common. I think you see that from PLO. A lot of PLO players play small ball with marginal hands like this. Turns out it's a great hand, but with hands where you don't want to be raised off, now he has a full house. No worries.
Joni Jouhkimainen takes down that pot. 6 is full of jacks with 180 million in chips. Jouhkimainen, number 3 on Finland's all-time money list with about $4 million in cashes.
Nice
Likes golf,
button,
ice hockey, likes the Jack-10 of hearts.
Speaking of hockey, hockey started back today.
Hockey's back.
Hockey's back.
The NBA is back. UFC is back.
Baseball
MLB is back for like a couple days or so, then it might go bye-bye.
Well, we might see a little something this hand.
Yeah, I think so.
Although I imagine if he raises here and Rano decides to move up.
Paraskevas just goes ahead and rips it. It's interesting with Jouhkimainen stack at 30 bigs.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a spot where you really force Joni to have a very strong hand because he doesn't want to go out in
short
third.
Stack, right?
$130,000 pay jump.
Sutla with
a big chip lead in these shorter stacks and these big pay jumps, you can do things like this and really apply pressure and make it difficult for them. It's not as difficult for Rano because you are in third, so like nothing's changing for you.
So does that make him more likely to call here?
I mean, I think it makes him more likely to call. I still don't know if he's necessarily calling. It's a tough spot because you really have to catch your opponent out of line with a hand like he happens to have. But how often is that is what he's thinking of. How often is this hand in good shape? He's going to make the call.
He is going to call, and he is in fantastic shape to double up with the ace-9 against the ace-6. There comes ace-queen-9, all diamonds.
We're not seeing a beat here.
Yeah, there we go. I guess a queen on the river
for the chop.
Paint?
Nope.
No. How about another 9? 9's full of aces for Rano Sutla out of Estonia with the double up against Paraskevas Sokoritis.
And Rano's still in third place, but way more breathing room here. Not that far off.
Gives the thank you emoji on GG. So everybody has about 30 bigs or more. This has changed drastically in a hurry with all these eliminations. It started out as a super shallow tournament.
Yeah,
now they're a little deeper.
Now they can actually play some poker.
Yeah. Let's see a little bit more post-flop play.
A limp with the Jack-3 off.
Rano will raise out of the big blind. Go 3x with the queen-6.
I like it. They're getting the streets here.
Congratulations to the giveaway winners in the Twitch chat. Our friends at GGPoker giving away a ton of tournament tickets, I think, throughout the course of the broadcast.
You might see some action here. We got a button raise with king-9. 3-handed small blind, queen-jack. Probably going to put some chips in the pot. I don't think he's going to fold that. And then with ace-10 there, I imagine, we got a 3-bet with queen-jack.
coming after it, making it 42 million out of the small blind.
Be quite the move here for Joni to ship it. Pick up 61,000 chips, or million chips, excuse me, 61 million.
It's worth it when...
He's going to give it up.
He's going to lay it down.
We'll probably see a fold from the king nine.
Yeah.
The worst of the three, the worst hand of the three takes it down.
Rano Sula.
It's not about the cards. Couple king five suiteds going to battle.
Stone B in the chat says Rano plays a lot of sit and goes and heads up sit and goes.
So he's right. We're right in his
yeah,
wheelhouse.
right. This is his zone right here.
I mean, he's chipped up to he's nipping at Paraskev's chip stack. Depending on how this hand plays out, he could be. No, he couldn't. There's no way.
Right, but I mean, be second place. All three players guaranteed $308,904.
So far, no one's put a chip in the pot with king high.
Yeah.
I imagine we're going to see check again.
Just trying to get to showdown. Somewhat decent holding heads up.
Yeah, you can't expect your opponent would hold anything that your king high is not beating, like a 3, 9, 7 ace or a pocket pair. So they're going to check down. We're going to get a chop.
Second place will win $433,345. First place almost $600K with 15K package to World Series of Poker Europe.
Yeah, I mean, if you value that package as cash, it's over 600,000.
Absolutely. Paraskevas Sokoritis out of Greece.
I like that Paraskevas is limping like a wide range of hands, so it's not easy to play against. I mean, if he's always limping the hand like the Jack 3 or whatever he had and you're getting raised off of it, sometimes he's going to have big hands and be able to call your raises, so I like that, mixing it up.
Deuce on the turn.
Picks up a diamond draw, but Rano's winning with the 3 currently. Is he going to bet it? Paraskevas has a lot of equity here with diamonds, queens, jacks. 15 outs. I like it. He bets. Doesn't get to see that for free. Fairly a little over half the pot. Gets called.
6 on the river. Suitless hand is best.
I imagine he checks it back. He can't really. Yeah. Yep, there you go. Checks it back.
Checks it back. Shows down another winner.
I think he's going to be about 20 million off the chip lead.
Rano Sula entered the day in 4th place with 77 million in chips.
So these guys were 2nd, 3rd, and 4th coming in. Not surprising.
No. Our chip leader, Arunas Sapitavicius, eliminated in 5th place.
Flops an open-ended. 2 7s on the button. Couple overcards. Fire a stab. I'd like to see a check raise here. Just gonna call.
Check call. Deuce of clubs on the turn. Paris' hand still best.
Yeah, I mean, I think with this hand, you want to give yourself a chance to win it without having to improve. You know your opponent's opening a lot of buttons. Now, he's kind of in a weird spot by not ever taking the aggressive lead in this hand.
Right.
He can only win if he improves. I mean, maybe he can bet here and get his opponent to fold. I don't think so. Yeah. Knowing their hand, he's just going to check and surrender.
It's not as believable with that run out. Deuce 5. It does go check. The 7s are good for Paraskevas Sokoritis.
Now
says you can call me Paris, like the city. Okay, that's cool. We'll call you Paris.
All right, let's go. I can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Rano, Paris, and Joni. Joni.
Joni Jouhkimainen?
Joni, Paris, and Rano. Let's go. We got it.
We got this.
Queen 8 just completes. Queen Jack suited. Pretty big hand. 3-handed. Think we might see a raise. Nope, just checks.
7-6 deuce with 2 clubs. Joni has the 8 of clubs.
Yeah, I mean, the players seem to be wanting to keep the pots relatively small.
Yeah.
We're seeing like little stabs. No one really getting out of line, applying a lot of pressure.
It kind of seems to be what the game has evolved to also. A lot more small ball approaches.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can see it's just the opening raise size, right? It's standard now for people to do less than 2.5, whereas when I started, it was in the 4 to 3 range back in the 90s. It went down to 3, then it was 3.5, 3, and then it was like 2.5, and now it's just like everybody just clicks it.
Right. And we also had that stretch, you know, maybe 2013-ish, where everybody was like raise, 3-bet, 4-bet, 5-bet shove, and you don't see as much of that.
You don't see that anymore. Now, I'd like to see him limp here. He's limped. He's been limping, you know, some of the weaker hands. Limp this one. I mean, the last time his opponent. He did. I love it. I love it. Paris is doing it. Last time his opponent Queen 6, I think, and ripped it on him or raised it. I don't remember what it was. Unfortunately, he gets out flopped, but I do like putting a variety of hands in your limping range there.
Stayed pretty balanced at this final table. He has run well and played well. Pretty good combination.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has seemed to play fairly well, you know, from what I've seen. No real big mistakes, nothing that stands out. I mean, to navigate a 12,800 person field tournament, you have to kind of have some clue of what you're doing.
Right. And some luck.
Oh, absolutely some luck.
Rano's going to fire here with the 5s.
Yeah, this is a real tough spot. I mean, it's only 7.8 million, so it's only, what, 2.5? No, 1 big blind, a little over 1 big blind. You know, your opponent could be betting some draws. I don't mind a call there.
Rano's going to be thrilled to check back and win this pot with 5s. To 230 million. Joni Jouhkimainen are short stack, but still pretty comfortable, about 24 bigs. Gets a walk there.
Right on time. Always nice to get a walk. Ace queen suited. This could be some trouble.
Yeah.
2 aces in the blinds. Just a call.
And he'll just limp in.
I wonder how he played his other ace queen is weighing on him, where he's like, all right, I'm not having a worse queen beat me again, you know. Probably not. He's probably just, you know, in position, big hand, punish his opponent who's limping. Maybe his opponent's limping a big hand, but not quite as big as the ace queen, and decides to jam it.
Makes it a little more than 3x, goes 19.2 million. Action on Joni Jouhkimainen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Joni's contemplating a fold. I think your hand's too strong, 3-handed to fold. He might be. He might be on the tighter side.
And he rips it. He's going to run right into it here.
Kind of what I expected, and the trap was set. The trap was sprung. I think he was just thinking his opponent might be raising just because he limped. And now we've got him drawing dead, and we are heads up.
And that'll do it for Joni Jouhkimainen. Yeah, to your point, he looked at ace-4 more as a limp shove.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of trapping, right? He's like, my opponent's going to think I'm weak. He's going to make a move
leader,
here.
He's going to run me over.
I get some extra chips out of it, and just ran into a buzzsaw.
All right, there we go. We are heads up for the title after Joni Jouhkimainen is eliminated in 3rd place for $308,904. Heads up for the biggest first-place prize in WSOP online history. Pretty
Not
sweet.
for long, though.
That's true.
There's some bigger ones coming up.
By the time we're back Saturday.
There are some bigger ones coming up. But yeah, we got a big flop here. He flopped a 2nd pair with a 10. Got a gut shot for Rano. Queen 5 off.
Another jack pops up on the turn. You see our upcoming broadcast in the bottom left corner of your screen. August 8th, it is the Millionaire Maker. We'll also have coverage of the 10K Heads Up, the 25K Poker Players Championship, and then the main event. Perhaps we'll be covering you at the final table.
That would be sweet.
Chilling on the beach in Cabo or something.
I'm right there.
Yeah.
That way. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Okay. There you go.
There we go, yeah.
You're sitting right there. That would be dope. That would be dope.
Again, the main event, a $5,000 buy-in, a $25 million guarantee, which, if they hit the guarantee, would make it the largest online poker tournament prize pool in history.
Well, since it's a guarantee, that will be the prize pool, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
so
true. That's true.
Yeah, even if they don't hit it, they're going to add it.
Yeah,
He's going to say, here you go, guys. All right.
There it is.
So he's got almost, he's got about a 2-to-1 exactly. 207 to 414, 2-to-1 chip lead.
As the blinds do go up, 4 million, 8 million.
And it says in 30 hands, so it stays at 30 heads up. Every 30 hands, we get an increase.
For those of you just joining us at final tables on GGPoker, there's not a time to a level, there's an amount of hands to a level. So 30 hands per level at this final table.
You know, I love it because it prevents stalling, right?
Yeah.
You don't see people kind of like trying to get the big blind by them, stall for the big blind. There's none of that. play your hand, man.
Right.
Like,
I love it.
yeah, and if you've noticed, the players have been playing relatively quickly.
Yeah,
Whereas
this has been really fast, I would say.
If we had a timer, we would see stalling and different things happening. So yeah, that's a great way to handle it.
I think WSOP.com ran into a lot of issues with stalling over the course of bubble play, and it made the tournament really shallow because in their deep stack, quote unquote, tournaments, in their 2K, the average stack was 8 bigs by the time they made the money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the nature of not having 2-day events. Like, I think this tournament, this is the third day now, right?
This is the third day, yes.
Third day. When you have that luxury, you can have deeper structures. WSOP.com doesn't have that feature enabled, so they got to get it done.
Yeah.
I got already started late enough. I feel bad for those on the East Coast playing those events because it started here at 3 p.m. I'm actually shocked it didn't start at like noon here, or maybe even 10 a.m. like some of the World Series events have gone to.
I think there are probably some tweaks. I think WSOP has been great at adapting,
adjusting,
and especially at their live festival. And I do genuinely think that they listen to the players and have been adjusting their schedules and structures, etc. I'm sure they'll do the same with online events.
My biggest wish is that they have some the GG software developers making them the same software, because this would be cool. But
that would work.
Look at this.
Oh,
we get a
7s and 5s.
5 on the river
for Arunas Sapitavicius.
They were most likely going to end up with a chop here. But 5 on the river gives Arunas Sapitavicius the winner. I don't even think, though, oh, he does get called. It's like it's a hard call here. Gets the bad news. He got rivered.
Pot-sized bet on the river. Max value. With the 2 pair. Sula getting a little bit closer.
Ooh, we've got an open-ended versus top pair. We haven't seen the players semi-bluffing draws really at all at this table, though. So I think we'll likely just see a bet call. I'd like to see them mix it up a little more. I'd like to see the players start pushing it a little more.
There's another check call. Pairs will check again as King pops up in the turn.
See if he's going to bet it again. He is. I like that. I don't think you...
Pretty sizable bet, too.
Yeah, I mean, your opponent more than likely has some sort of draw. You do want to charge them for that draw. You can't really give them free cards. 4 in the river, you got to feel good about that.
Yeah.
The only 7, I mean, I actually think you can value bet that, but that's from playing a lot of limit poker. The only 7 that beats you really is Ace-7, which is unlikely.
Right.
It's not likely he has a 4 here. You get paid from the 6s, which if he doesn't have a draw, you could have a hand with 6s in it. I think you might want to bet that. Even though you have showdown value, I like to kind of get some value out of that.
Just like that, we're just about even here.
Yeah, I mean, these pots have been pretty big. You know, a lot of check call pots. Picking up blinds here and there. Doesn't take much.
Rano flops an ace here.
What is there, 100 big blinds total between the two of them?
Yeah.
600 million chips-ish. It's pretty deep, 50 big blinds each.
Right, all the, like we were saying earlier.
It's 4-8 now.
Yeah, true,
It's a little shallower.
But still, it got deeper, certainly, and the structure has helped with that. Arunas Sapitavicius overtakes the chip lead. Might give it right back here. Paris fires. Which Paris does.
And this is one of those spots with a flop like ace-queen, no need to even bet a lot.
Right,
you
don't
small
have to,
with all your whether you have it or not. It's hard for your opponents to continue unless they actually do. So you can find out a lot of information for cheap there.
Heads up with a World Series of Poker bracelet on the line. Arunas Sapitavicius out of Estonia. Paris Sokaridis out of Greece. Has been grinding in London, but was born in a small city in Greece. About 250K in live tournament earnings for Paris. Had 3 cashes at the 2019 World Series of Poker in Las Vegas, including a 19th place finish in the $1,500 Monster Stack event. Both flop 6s here.
All right. Nice little cash. Monster Stack event. I like that event. That's one everyone always looks forward to.
That's true.
I believe with the 4-color deck here, he made a flush.
The flush
well,
gets
he made
there.
2 pair. I don't think we're going to see too many chips. Right. Most likely, if he's going to bet his flush, I don't think so. Probably a check. Check. It's not really going to bet your 2 pair here on that board, are you? I don't think you would. You're not likely getting called by worse.
Right,
Yep.
and he does check back. Happy to check back. Won't be happy to see that he loses that one.
He's been getting rivered quite a bit. Jack deuce suited on the button. He's going to make a standard min raise. Just a call with king jack.
A good one for Paris. Flops a king. There's Felipe in the chat. Felipe Ramos, GGPoker ambassador. Good to see you, my friend.
Oh, he doesn't see bet the jack. He just checks it back. And now Paris lays the trap with the queens full of kings, trying to get a bet out of his opponent.
No bet yet.
I think we see a bet here, right? Your opponent. I mean, it's tough though. Like your opponent showed they don't have anything, and they're not going to call you. So you kind of have to hope they made something. But I guess you bet here just in case they think you're just bluffing with air.
Yeah.
Yep, he does.
The overbet. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's trying to get an opponent with like an ace high to really overthink it. Trying to give off the feel of a bluff. Just limps the 8-9.
He's 4 of clubs for Anasula. That's a pretty one. He's going to raise it up. Goes 3.5x.
Yeah, he's limping most of his hands in the small. And he calls. Interesting call.
Let's make the call. Backdoor flush draw and the wheel draw and Sula's ace high is just best right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know position is worth a lot, but that was quite a large raise. 20 more million.
Down bet to 15.2 million here.
Yeah, it's, again, it's one of those flops again where you don't need to bet much to find out what you need to find out. No need to risk a lot of chips unnecessarily. Limp on the button and a check, I believe. Two fairly bad hands. Neither player flops anything, so I think this one's going to go to whoever decides to be aggressive.
Rana with that jack of diamonds will be the aggressor here. We'll size up a touch, that'll get it done. To your point, first player to show signs of aggression there. I'm Jeff Platt, he's David Williams. This is final table coverage of the World Series of Poker Colossus event. Almost $5 million in the prize pool. Heads up for a World Series of Poker bracelet and $595,930. Paris Sokoritis and Rano Sutla heads up for the title.
Paris folded a small blind on the button last hand, and Rano had king queen.
And shows the king. On GG, you can show one card or both cards after the hand is over. Even if you weren't involved in a hand. Even if you had folded pre-flop and just want to show somebody you folded.
A lot of the apps are doing that now. That's kind of cool. Why? Flopped a flush against top pair and a flush draw. And this isn't Omaha. This is Hold'em. Flopping a flush is hard. You know, I think we might see...
And flopping top pair looks good, heads up.
That ace might save him. I mean, you don't always put your opponent on an ace, but I mean, I think it's going to keep the pot from exploding from the queen 7. I mean, if he were to bet and get any heat, it's more likely he gives it up. Wow, he checks it back again.
King of spades on the river.
Rano has ran really bad on getting a lot of value out of this hand. There was potential on the flop to get a lot, if not all of it.
For some fireworks there.
And now his opponent has played it in such a way where he might actually even get away if you lead out on a river. Depending on the size of the bet.
He goes with the overbet this time. Like exact same sizing.
That might let Paris off the hook.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. He raised the button and then checked it back twice. And then your opponent leads into you. He calls.
Wow, gets paid off. How's that for some value on the river for Rano Sutla?
Yeah, that's a tough one because it's like, is your opponent, did he really call without, with a stone airball? Did he really call the weak hand and then just lead out on the river with a stone airball over pot? I don't think it's likely. Flops a flush draw, checks it again. He's been playing very passive. Lots of check, check, call, check. The
way that board ran out, very few hands that you do beat there.
I mean, you could have an absolute sicko that just peeled your min raise with 2 undercards and just decided to fire into you on the river over pot, almost 1 1/3 pot, but I don't think so. I think it's one of those spots where there's so much uncertainty, it's best to just fold. Flop the flush draw, no chips went in, turned a pair. His opponent river to deuce, but I don't think we see a call from the deuce if he does lead. He decides to check, checks back. Now deuce can beat the ace high hands, but deuce was not good enough.
Paris recovers a little bit, but Rano has certainly turned the tables. And you said coming into this that it was really anybody's game. Anybody had a chance at this with those stack sizes coming into the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's with the blinds being what they are, it's just the chips are going to the most aggressive player, right? I mean, Rano is just making the right moves. Now, he's also hitting the flops harder, making some rivers, flopping flushes. But he's also just playing the, he's getting value out of those hands.
Flush draw for Paris, the wheel draw for Rano. Ace high is best. 9 of diamonds on the turn.
And 4 hearts, I believe, and it's all over.
Oh, yeah.
Assuming we get to a river. Paris, I believe, will fire again with his flush draw. Try to win it here and not have to make the flush. Yes, he does. Another over pot size bet.
This time on the turn.
I think that's going to do it. I think it's pretty hard for Rano to call here. It's just ace high and a gut shot.
Sizing throughout this heads-up battle has been pretty intriguing.
He's thinking he might make a move here. I mean, he does have the ace of diamonds, but it is a backdoor flush draw, so I think it's not something you're too worried about. The fact that there was also a heart flush draw to think about, to consider, it means your opponent's range and holdings could be even wider. There's so many different things they could have. I think having ace high there, too many chips to continue. Your opponent's going to have a pair there so often.
Yeah. 4 million, 8 million blinds for another 14 hands.
And he did check, he flopped queens with a 7 flush draw, checked it back, so your opponent could easily just have had a king there and being tricky. I mean, he's shown that he can do that, and I think Rano wisely saw that, so he knows it's not good to call there with ace high, I don't think. I know it's not, that's what he's thinking.
In the chat about the PLOSSUS or the PLOSSUS, however that is phrased. Yes, that will also be streamed on this channel, just not streamed by us. Although David might jump in the mix, who knows?
I don't know. I don't know when it is.
Itching for some PLO.
I'll be watching. I know that. I'll be home watching for sure.
10s for Paris, who check calls. Good point by Boo in this chat that Rano only has 50 seconds left on his final table clock. Now, if he runs out of that, that does not mean he's just out completely, but it does limit his time per street to
does he have to buy
maybe
it?
10 or 15 seconds?
You buy it from your opponent, you barter.
Yeah. Just another intriguing dynamic, a cool element at these GG final tables.
Prize pool left. Over $1 million. These two guys are playing for a total.
It's both guaranteed more than 430K. Up top is almost $600,000.
Second place is 1,000 buy-ins. 995. 10-8, he just checks. Let's see, he did raise the button with the ace-8, just checks it back. He is really not wanting to put any chips in play.
Yeah.
He's playing very conservative. See if we finally get a bet here. Nope, just checks it back again.
King on the river, ace high is best.
I wonder if we're going to see another 43,000 chip lead out. Nope, unfortunately he's not. Now I think we definitely see a check back with some showdown value here.
Happy to get to show. Oh no, Fire's here. Fire's half pot.
Yeah, it's a strange bet. Like I think if your opponent's going to call you with any pair
with anything better, and then still fold anything worse.
The slight chance they have like an ace-9 or whatever, ace kicker that I think there was not on board. Maybe ace-8 or ace-10. You had ace-8. They might, but unlikely. I don't think that bet has a lot of value.
Queens and 10s for Rano here.
Check back again. 10 hands. We go to what, 5 and 10 million?
Yeah.
Pair of tens is good. Shows both hands. I like that.
Like that as well.
Don't have to go look at the hand history.
Yeah,
Just
you can
shows
go
it for
look
you. Yeah, you
anyway,
can
so
go
might
look.
as well just show them both.
Let's get it over here.
Yeah.
Queen 4 off on the button, and then raise. Just smooth with the ace deuce, gets out flopped.
Rano flops a deuce. Does have that backdoor wheel draw and backdoor nut flush draw. Paris the best hand for now. Fires with the fours.
See a call for sure.
Yeah.
Here, having the ace of diamonds, a pair, a wheel draw.
Ooh, ace on the turn. Aces and deuces for Rano.
And if you're Paris, you know, you don't think in the ace hit you probably get 3-bet pre-flop. You think. It's unlikely. There's only 3 other aces in the deck. But your opponent did call you on the flop. Could have a king. Could have had an ace. He opts to just check it back and keep the pot small, I think, so that he can call a river.
Yeah.
Didn't want to get raised off his hand on the turn.
Rano lead pot effectively. That's 51.6 million with the aces and deuces.
You know, it's frustrating if you're in Paris' seat. You paid it off last time, but you don't want to get bluffed.
Yeah,
and you're like, man, I'm going to fold
did
here.
that
He's
open
gonna
the
show me
door
nothing.
to
Yeah.
bluff? Right.
You start second guessing yourself, getting in your head, but nope, he lays it down. He maintains composure, folds it, gets right back to poker. Defends the 4-5 off and
Both flop a pair again. Rano with the better pair this time. Fire small.
Yeah, I mean, they say in Hold'em it's hard to make a pair.
That's true.
So
We've seen a lot.
We see a call. I mean, he's got a 5 heads up. Your opponent doesn't always have to outflop you. He picked up a straight draw.
Shot, yeah. Rano
check
decides
back.
to check back.
I think he's trying to check to induce. Maybe his opponent will lead. He can snap off a bluff.
Now, does he go for a little value here at the jack?
He's been pretty consistent with properly value betting.
Yeah.
And he does.
Half pot, 25.6 million.
And his sizing is all over the place, which is really tricky to play against. He's not giving away anything.
Paris in another tricky spot.
Yeah, this is what happens heads up when you don't really ever take the initiative, which he's not really doing. He's not being the aggressor. You just find yourself in such, you're no man's land every hand because you never raise to establish where you are, you know, to make them have to figure out what you have. So when you just check call a lot, you find yourself in this position where you just have no idea what your opponent could have. The best defense against this is to be the one betting.
Right. Does create so many awkward spots like this one.
It doesn't help that he's out of position, right? When you're out of position, it's really hard to play. I mean, that's why they say position is power. And he calls.
Does call off. Again, max value for Rano Sutla. He's up to about 430 million in chips. Is starting to really take control of this heads-up match.
Yeah, every time you're in this spot where Paris, you know, like what you need right here is to pick up like a nice little ace-king on the button right after that, just so you can kind of feel better. You get the 8-3 and the 10-deuce, you're like, oh man, you're like, I just keep getting garbage and I need something. You feel like despair. Let's see, his opponent limps the button. He's got the 10-deuce, the old Doyle Brunson. Look at his time bank now down to 20 seconds. He decides to get after it. Might be a little steam here.
Could be. Comes King 5-3, doesn't really connect with anybody, although Rano has the Queen of Hearts for that backdoor flush draw.
Now, does he have it in him to
keep coming
to keep keep telling this story he's trying to tell? He does. Now we see the cards. You would think Rano's going to fold here, but he's been playing on another level. He just calls with the Queen high.
Wow.
Now if you're Paris, you're like,
locked in is Rano Sutla.
Well, you know, with that call, Paris has got to feel like, what can I can't do anything right. He's like, I can't do anything right.
Nightmare for Paris.
He is just getting ran over. Is Rano checks it back? Another king on the river,
Another
king of hearts.
Pops up.
So if you're Parrish, you're like, well, if he didn't have a king, he probably had a flush draw. Maybe he had a 5. He's not folding that, or a 3. He's not folding any full houses. Like, what can I do here?
It's going to be pretty tough here to fire, and he does wave the white flag. Rano happy to check back with queen high and just pick up another pot.
I mean, right now, I think if you're Paris, you gotta hope there's like a timeout button and go, go get a glass of water, take a deep breath, recenter yourself. But this is online poker, you got to keep going. He limps
Does
the
flop
button.
the open ender here. How about this from our friends at GGPoker Official, giving away 2 $150 tournament tickets if you type heads up in the Twitch chat. Just giving all the tickets away. Beautiful.
He took down a pot.
There we go.
One.
Okay,
It was
so
a
he
limp
can
pot.
breathe. He loses this one, but he still can breathe a little bit.
You got to get one.
I like how Rano keeps showing a card.
Yeah, he's like, don't tilt, buddy, don't tilt.
Right.
He's like, I like you being nice and passive. I get to run you over. Here, I had it. Please don't tilt, because once you start shipping, I can't run you over anymore.
Big raise with the 10-4. We saw a raise from Paris with the 10-deuce, and we've seen that a lot in these super high roller tournaments. Out of the big blind, when the small blind or in heads up, the button limps in with the really good or the really bad here, raising a lot to stay balanced.
I would have liked to see him just rip it in there with the 9 high on the limp re-raise. You give
And
off a lot of
clubs,
strength, and if you get called, you got a hand that plays all right. People are going to play a little loose. And now, did he just defend there with the gut
Paris
shot?
making the call. He's had that gut shot. Does Rano give up?
I mean, if you're going to make that call, you have to be able to at least bluff and try to steal this pot when you don't make it. So I hope we see a bet either here or on the river. Because if you're going to make that call and not ever bluff, you're purely only winning if you connect. That can't be a winning strategy.
That's a bad strategy over the long haul.
So we've got to see a bet here. If we don't see a bet here, he's effectively just given up. Okay.
There is a bet, 26 million.
And I think we're going to see a fold out of 10-4 here. If not, I'm going to question, is he super using? I'm like, okay, if we get a call here, what's going on? We need to launch an investigation.
Well done by Paris there to perhaps regain a little bit of momentum. Picks up a pretty strong hand here for heads up play in the ace-10 of diamonds.
Yeah, but we got the standard button raise that we've seen almost every hand from Rano. Is it finally time to play back at him?
Yep, for all of it.
All the chips. Snap fold. When you're Rano and you're kind of running someone over, and they finally play back at you, usually means they actually have something this time, and you just fold and go back to doing what you were doing. Button limp with ace-3.
Yeah, does flop an ace. Rano has the 8 of clubs. Paris has the 3 of clubs. Goes check, check. Paris is going to run out of time bank soon, so I think he gets in the range of 10 to 15 seconds per street, even with 0 in his time bank.
Yeah, it hasn't started ticking yet. I guess it doesn't tick
Right,
until...
I think you get your standard 10 seconds, and then you could dive into that time bank. 10's full of aces. And queen high not terrible to have here.
Wow. He
does lay it down.
1.5 times the pot, too.
There we go. Blind's going up. 5 million, 10 million.
We've got 40 to 20 bigs. Ship it with the 5s, and I think we might see a call here with king, queen. I don't know. 20 bigs is a lot.
Yeah.
It's the kind of spot where you lose here. You just flip the tables, right? Now you're the one down, so
Rano lays
it's
it
hard
down.
to call it off.
Also,
with king,
perhaps
queen.
feels like you said, he has an maybe has an advantage. Heads up.
Yeah, he hasn't been running you. Hasn't been playing back at you much.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of ace highs. You're going to see a lot of pairs. It's not like you're going to run into king 10 there often against this opponent. So I like that fold. Okay, get after it. 2 guys with 7-4. Go ahead and fire it off. Let's go. It was a limp pot. He checked to you. Now we got some momentum.
Rano Sutla out of Estonia. Paris Sokaridis out of Greece.
Limps the 8-4 on the button. I guess he's shown that he's limping a full range of hands. Flops a gut shot and takes it away. I mean, you can do that when your opponent is not playing back at you and letting you steal pots. And
the door's open quite frequently for Rano.
Men raising the button. Rano's definitely at least calling. Yeah, he does.
He flops an ace while Paris flops a jack.
Both players trapping. Check, check. I think this is going to be one of those spots again where we see Paris not know where he's at and have to pay off a big bet.
And that is a big bet, about a pot-sized bet on the turn.
And he just gives it up.
Wow.
Wow. That's a crazy fold in a way because it's not, I mean, what are the chances? You're only really beat by an ace. I mean, I guess if your opponent has
Speaking of strong,
10-8, but yeah, to just give it up, check back, and then fold. One of the reasons you check back is to keep the pot small. You can call the turn.
Here's a raise from Paris with the kings.
Oh, a full
Rondo
3x.
has ace
Did you see that?
6 and does flop an ace.
Did you notice that was the first non-min raise? And gets punished, gets
That's a pretty
outflopped.
brutal one.
It's unfortunate. And he
Will
leads
lead
small.
Yeah, 13 million.
I think Rondo's just going to call here.
3 of clubs on the turn. Paris does have the king of clubs.
I think both players are kind of wondering how strong their hand is. Neither can be too confident. Neither of them want to fold, but they can't love it to try to bet for value there on the turn.
Paris does not spike a club. He will check on the river.
Now, his 6 is playing as a kicker, so I think it's one of those spots where it's kind of tough to bet here. If you get called, you lose to every other ace, he's still going to fire it. I don't know what calls you, other than maybe pocket kings, which his opponent happens to have, but... And they do.
And does make the call. So Rano Asutla sends us off to break with that.
Wow.
I mean, and just real quick before we take a quick break, you've been pretty impressed by what Rano Asutla has been able to do, just getting max value after max value.
Yeah, I mean, Rano is really, I think, playing a great game of poker right now. I mean, he's also running better. Guy has kings, he's hitting an ace, he's flopping flushes. He's running better, and it's easy to play well when you're running better. And then I don't want to say the momentum like in the poker, but your confidence level is there. You're like, well, I'm winning all these pots. I'm running this guy over. And the flip side of that is for Paris, right? You keep having these big hands. You keep losing. You keep paying off. Your opponent outflopped you. That makes you more passive, more timid. Now you don't know what to do. I mean, it's just kind of like an unraveling right here. So this break couldn't come at a better time, I think. Go out, get some fresh air, you know, maybe call a buddy and get a pep talk. See, just got to recenter.
All right, so a quick break for Paris to reset, a quick break for Rano, and a quick break for us to reset as well. We'll just be back in a couple minutes. Stay tuned, stay with us. You're watching World Series of Poker Colossus final table coverage. All right, welcome back. It is final table coverage of the Colossus. It's the World Series of Poker on GGPoker. Welcome back inside the PokerGO studio. Jeff Platt alongside David Williams. And David, how about this? Heads up for $600K in the bracelet. Woo, off a $400 buy-in.
Yeah, this is cool, man. I mean, I'm jealous. That's all I'll say. I'm jealous. I'm not there playing online, but it's cool to be here with you guys up early watching it.
It's a nice consolation prize for us, right?
Yeah.
Let's get right back to the action. Rano Sutla and Paris Sukaridis heads up for that World Series of Poker bracelet. Two hands right off the bat. Just limps with the ace-jack.
Oh, here we
go. All in a call.
He set the trap. I was going to say 13 bigs. He limped. Was going to call any shove. He picks up an ace. He's like, he's limping a weak hand. I'm going to get him off of it.
Rano needs a 4 or a 5 for the bracelet. We'll squeeze it. It is a queen on the river. So that's an important double up to start things off for Paris. You know, he was pretty much dominated. Goes on break. Maybe takes a deep breath, comes back to ace-jack against ace-4. Easy game.
Yeah, now he can relax and say, okay, we got it going. Here we go. 5's on the button. 36 big blinds to 27.
Paris with the king deuce.
Uh-oh.
Oh, gonna 3-bet. Okay, maybe did come back with some strategy changes.
Maybe talk to a friend or something.
Maybe.
And say, hey, man, like, I can't do this. I'm losing. But he said, no, man, you are here for a reason. Get in there.
Ramp it up a little bit. Comes 9-9-4 and on a terrible flop if you're holding 5s like Rano is.
Yeah, will he hold on? Quarter, a little less.
Yeah.
Almost a fifth of the pot.
The down bet here. Both players are going to run out of their extra time bank.
Ooh, the raise.
Oh.
Right back at it. And he lays down the king high.
It's an interesting approach with the 5s. I just
like
feel like
it.
so. Yeah,
It's like,
I
let's
really
end it
like
now,
it. I just feel like so many just call there on the 9-9-4 after your opponent.
I mean, there's
3-bet
not a lot of
free.
great cards on the turn, right? Like, I mean, there's some okay cards, but like, a lot of cards allow you to get bluffed off. So it's like, you know what?
Yeah,
you're not going to bluff me off here. And if you have it, you have it. We'll see. We'll see what you do.
Rano flops top pair here.
I mean, he has held the cards and had the flops. If you had to compare these two.
No question about it. Holds the chips as well. And holds kings against ace-9.
Oh, are we going to see
Heads up, these two could collide.
Another trap set. Is he going to ship it? I think he might.
And he does.
Insta-call.
He'll get snapped. Here we go. Paris is all in and at risk.
Oof.
Rano Sutla is oh so close to a bracelet. A straight draw here.
Oh, I wish
we'll squeeze it. It's a 10 on the river, and that will do it. Rano Sutla wins the World Series of Poker Colossus event for more than $600,000. You got to include the WSOP Europe package in the mix. There it is, our final payouts. Paris Sukaridis finishes in second. It's all about Estonia today. David Rano Sutla wins the WSOP bracelet.
I mean, he played well. He caught cards.
Yeah.
Hard to beat both those things in combination. A guy that's playing lights out, catching cards, you aren't going to beat that guy very often. So he earned it. He earned it.
History has certainly been made for about a week. This will maintain its status as the biggest first place payout for an online bracelet event.
Right?
And just one more time, David, final thoughts on this event as a whole. I mean, almost 13,000 entries, almost $5 million in the prize pool.
I mean,
$400 buy-in.
It sounds like I'm being a shill, but I'll honestly say I am truly impressed with everything about how the World Series of Poker has adapted to what's going on in the world. And this is a great offering. GGPoker really stepped it up. The fields are great. The range of buy-ins. We have a $400 tournament giving away $500,000. We have a $5,000 main event.
Yeah.
Software looks great. I mean, this is a cool event. So if I couldn't be there to play, I'm happy to be here. This is really awesome.
Okay, that works. So then what do you say we just do this next Saturday?
All right, I'll be back.
That sounds
it's a
good.
Millionaire Maker, $1,500 buy-in, so it's going to be even bigger. First place is $1 million. Yeah.
We will be back for a massive World Series of Poker event on GGPoker. Thanks so much to our crew. Thanks to you all for watching on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook. Loving the coverage that GGPoker has provided throughout the World Series of Poker. For David Williams, for our crew, once again, I'm Jeff Platt. We will see you next Saturday for the World Series of Poker Millionaire Maker.